Talked a lot about the offense, certainly, and, of course, how the Vikings may, in fact, respond after the loss of Corey Stringer. Haven't talked much about the defenses. And I want to start with you, TJ. Let's look at that New Orleans Saints defense, which was pretty darn good last year.
Well, the foundation of that defense is their front line. Leroy Glover, Norman Hand, Joe Johnson and company, 60-some sacks last year. So they put tremendous pressure on the quarterback. But I think if Coach Haslett has a concern, it is this team's ability not to get to the passer, but to stop the run. I think if you look at the end of last year and you think back, certainly against Denver and Mike Anderson, Marshall Faulk, 200-plus yard rushing games, you cannot rush the passer unless you can stop the run and put them in down and distance situations where you can rush the passer.
One thing about that defense, it takes over the personality of Jim Haslett, which is, let's get after people. On the other hand, the Minnesota Vikings for a couple of years now have, well, been pretty sorry on defense.
Well, they have 28th in the league last year, and some of the better players on that defense gone. John Randall, Tony Williams on the D-line. The speed of Dwayne Rudd at linebacker certainly is going to hurt them. New assistant head coach and defensive back coach Willie Shaw came in as an attacking, aggressive defensive coach, but he's going to have to get the corners to play better because they love bringing Robert Griffith, the strong safety, up and play a little more like a linebacker. But they can only do that if the corners are covered. And if they can't, he's got to be back there a little bit. So you're right. This is a defense that has struggled. They lose some of the better players on that defense. But again, I'm not doubting Minnesota anymore. I can't do it. Denny Green finds a way.
Gabe Northern was a guy that got hurt. They're looking for rushing out of him. They went out and got Lance Johnstone from the Raiders. So they're trying to put some people around there, but still a lot of missing pieces. Still ahead here on NFL Tonight. We're going to hear how the game of football has become an afterthought for some Vikings since the death of Corey Stringer.
It's going to be very hard for me to go out there with the push and the drive that I had when Corey was here.
Dante Culpepper, who had 33 touchdown passes last year, prepares the Vikings get ready for the Saints less than 10 minutes away now, right here on ESPN. Well, as the football world mourns the death of Corey Stringer, the Minnesota Vikings have the difficult and unenviable task of taking the field tonight without their teammate, whom they laid to rest this past Monday. His absence in the huddle, an empty locker, all constant reminders of the unthinkable loss. Yet the schedule demands they take the field tonight and open the season a month from now. How can they? Will it ever be the same? Sean Salisbury has more.
I watched a 27-year-old man deteriorate in 12 hours before my eyes. Literally watch him die. Strong as an ox, hard to go. I watched him deteriorate right in front of me. And never been involved and never want to be involved in anything like that ever again. And then you still got to play.
Life in football continues. The regular season will begin a little more than 4 weeks after a teammate was laid to rest. The Minnesota Vikings have already missed all or part of 5 full-team workouts. Never have they needed a more focused training camp. Never has football seemed less important.
It's going to be very hard for me to go in there with the push and the drive that I had when Corey was here. And now that he's gone, it's going to be hard for me to regain all of that. And I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know, what it's going to take to get me back. But right now, I don't really have a football mind right now.
I know there's certain players, man, that are very fragile. I don't know how they'll ever get over it.
Denial is not an option. Every day the team walks past a fan-constructed memorial onto the same practice field where most of them last saw Corey Stringer alive.
I don't think in this situation there is a back to normal. I think something has radically changed, and I think that we need to acknowledge that something has changed. In the loss of Corey, we're together every day as a family from now through January, and so that's a part of the coping, is to stay together.
And so they practice. The drills are familiar, but the feeling is different. The work done not so much with the desire to improve as a need to move forward.
We have to march on. That is the way it has to be. You have to just go on and then know that the guys aren't quite where they normally would be.
The only thing I know to do now is just work as hard as we possibly can. I mean, we're lucky that at least we get to go out on that field and for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, we get to try to focus on something else.
Is being on the field easier than being off it, Randy, right now as far as your focus, or is it even worse because he's not there?
I think it's even worse. Our lockers beside each other's game day and regular season practice. And, for the past couple of days, every morning I come through and I'll holler, big fella. Every morning, big fella was happening. So, I mean, it's hard.
So hard, in fact, Moss said he briefly thought about quitting. While practice continues, perspective has been forever changed. Last season, the Vikings were a game away from the Super Bowl. Now, the dream of a championship seems difficult to grasp.
For me, I'm just trying to keep the team together. I told the team, we had a team meeting, I told the team I'm not thinking about anything. As far as the NFC Central, I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm trying to keep this team together.
Have your expectations changed now in light of what happened?
I'm not going to sit here and lie. I think they have.
As the season begins to progress, I mean, yes, I want to win, but I believe that right now the mental state of these 79 guys we have here is far more important.
Certainly a very, very difficult situation for everybody involved. I do know this, that probably few people are better equipped to handle this situation than Dennis Green. I mean, he does a great job with his players.
And we know that he has a very unique relationship with his football team, and there's a lot of love in that organization from top to bottom. And I think that this may be Coach Green's finest hour. Not only does he have to prepare his team to play and get over the Corey Stringer tragedy, which some of them may never do, but he also has to make up for a timetable that did not allow him to get them ready to play physically. So I think his job is twofold, but if there is anyone who can do it, it is Dennis Green. Only a year ago, how can he be starting Dante Culpepper? What's going to happen to their football team? Well, I was in Hawaii at that Pro Bowl, and Dante Culpepper was lining up as the starter. Yeah, so, you know, if anybody can do this, Dennis Green
He's finding a way, and I hope this is the last time I have to bring Jerome Brown back into an analogy. I really hope, you know, this doesn't happen anymore, but I go back to 1992 when we lost Jerome Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. As Chris Carter said, yes, he has to get this team together, and they have to go on and they have to play. So how do you do it? What we did in Philadelphia is we kept Jerome's locker just as it was for every day in practice, from the beginning of the season, preseason, all the way to our second-round loss to the Cowboys in the playoffs. So every day we came in, we saw his locker, we knew Jerome was there with us in spirit, so we felt good about it. We kept him part of our team the whole year round. Minnesota's going to find their way that they have to do that as well, to memorialize him and keep them with them to help the healing start in the process. TJ, I remember when you came to interview our defense in 92 about this, about the locker, and wondering, are we just using it for motivation? Now, everybody has that fine line of where you use it and how you remember a person.
I think at some point, you know, Dennis Green has to address his football team, and he will. What better tribute to Corey Stringer than for us to go out and play the way Corey would have played?
Well, I know this, that the game has changed. Their lives have changed forever. Yes. It really has. But you do have to go on. Yes, somehow you have to learn to deal with it and go on. And the quicker you do that, the better you do that. Well, we're less than 5 minutes away from kickoff now. Ricky Williams of the Saints prepares as the Saints get ready to take on the Vikings. We'll be back after this.
NFL Tonight is brought to you by the all-new 2-Minute Drill. Play along in the Ultimate Sports Quiz Show Tuesdays on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Just a reminder that it's, well, Monday Night Countdown coming to you at 7 o'clock Eastern Time this Monday. That's before the Bucs and the Dolphins get it on at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Well, we're just a couple minutes away now from kickoff. Final thoughts, what are you looking for in tonight's game?
Well, I'm just watching the Minnesota Vikings. They've been such a resilient football team over the years. Denny Green, 9 years, 8 times in the playoffs. Slowly but surely, he will get his team ready to play, and I'm just going to be interested to watch how far they've come thus far.
In this game, as the snaps go on, they're going to get into it because the ball's going to be snapped. They're going to have to hit somebody, and that's what they're going to do. We've chronicled a few of the battles going on, but there's battles for that 45 through 50 slot on the team. Watch for the guys in the third and fourth quarter. These are the guys that are going to be trying to make the highlight reel, the Sports Center reel, because they know that'll get noticed by the coaches.
Jim Haslett will be building on last year, trying to take another step, and of course this is the first step in a long, normal journey back for the Minnesota Vikings. That's it for us. For Mike Golick and Tom Jackson, I'm Mark Malone. We thank you very much for watching NFL Tonight. Now it's time for preseason football. Dennis Green leads his Minnesota Vikings onto the field to take on Jim Haslett and the Saints on a special edition of ESPN Sunday Night Football.
Let's go, man. Jog it over. Okay, button them up. Let's go. Sluts. Come on, do something violent.
The South are upon us. That day waves across America's gridiron.
How many days are we in camp?
Battles driven determine the fate of men who dream of becoming champions. The New Orleans Saints must find the one man to lead them into battle.
Blake's going to throw deep downfield. Got it for a touchdown! Touchdown, New Orleans! He's going to run with it, and he's going to walk into the end zone. Who's the go-to guy now?
Tonight, their competition begins.
It's going to be hard for us to win a Super Bowl in Minnesota. I believe that. It's going to be hard.
The Minnesota Vikings were just one game away from their Super Bowl dreams.
The Vikings on the near side, glancing up at the scoreboard. A bit shocked, a bit dazed.
Now, their big three must lead them forward.
Come on, let's be special, all right? Score on 1, 2, 3, score. Touchdown, Vikings! Come on, let's go! You gotta score one more now. We gotta make the play.
30 days until summer's battles become autumn's war.
We're in San Antonio, Texas for an ESPN preseason special as the Minnesota Vikings take on the New Orleans Saints. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Patrick. It's great to have you with us for our 15th year of the NFL on ESPN. Last season, the Minnesota Vikings made it all the way to the NFC Championship game before they were knocked out. They have some personnel problems this year, but maybe the biggest obstacle they have to overcome, the after effects from the tragic death of Corey Stringer. For more on that, here's Susie Colbert.
Mike, Vikings head coach Dennis Green has had to guide this team, this organization, through the most difficult circumstances. Denny, it's been 5 days since Corey Stringer was laid to rest. What's the emotional state of your team?
Well, I think we're making some progress step by step. I don't think we could be expected to do any better than we're doing right now. Our guys are anxious to play tonight. I think we're looking forward to playing. And we've worked very hard during this past 5 days.
Physically, you've only had 2 practices in pads, and you haven't scrimmaged. How concerned are you about diving right in against a team as physical as the Saints?
Well, they're very physical. We've played them a lot. We normally practice against them, so we haven't missed out on that. I think our guys are ready. We'll get better during the course of the game. In other words, I think that you can play yourself into shape. You can play yourself in hitting in physical shape during the course of the ball game, and that's what we expect to do tonight.
Top priority?
I think when you play well. I mean, the guys on the first line have been bugging me to play more, so I would imagine we're going to start with those guys the first quarter, a few series in the second quarter, let them start the third quarter for a few series. So they're not going to quite get a full half, but they want more action, and we're going to give them more than we normally give them in the first game.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Susie. There are thousands of Viking fans here to see pro football in San Antonio and to pay tribute to the memory of Corey Stringer. We'll be back right after this.
ESPN welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Welcome back to San Antonio. We're at the Alamo Dome for the Saints and the Vikings. Preseason football, the first time the Vikings will have had any contact at all this year. Coin toss going on. Dennis Green now in his 10th year, and that ties him with Bill Cowher for the longest tenure of any coach with a single team. That is a remarkable statistic in the NFL. Dennis Green, a true survivor in this business. Right now, let's go to the public address announcer, Stan Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, would you please join both the Saints and the Vikings as we observe a moment of silence in honor of Viking All-Pro tackle Corey Stringer. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vikings and the Saints, thank you very much.
And that is the kind of reminder that this team is going to be facing all year long. Joe Theismann and Paul McGuire join me now. And Paul, the Vikings still have Moss and Carter and Culpepper. Maybe the bigger issue who they don't have.
Well, this is Dante Culpepper's second season as a starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. The interesting thing tonight is how he handles the pressure and the loss of two Pro Bowl tackles in Corey Stringer and Todd Stussy, and also Pro Bowl running back Robert Smith, who led the NFC in rushing a year ago and was responsible for 38% of this Viking offense. But I think when you look at it last year, Dante Culpepper was in a comfort zone with these three guys.
Joe, when you talk about quarterbacks and you look at the Saints, they already know they have two guys who can get it done.
They have two, Mike, but who's going to be number one? That's the biggest question. Jeff Blake certainly did a great job leading them to a 7-4 record. And normally what happens when you look at a quarterback, if he gets hurt and then comes back, it's his job. Well, that's not the case. He's going to have to go out and earn his position against Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks will get the start tonight. He's a bit more athletic than Jeff Blake. Jeff Blake works out of the pocket. They present two different types of quarterback. The question is, which one will Jim Haslett decide to lead his football team?
The New Orleans Saints will get the ball first. Mitch Berger will kick off for the Vikings. And we are set to go from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. And we are grateful we are inside. It has been brutally hot here, as it has been throughout most of the country. Fred McAfee back to receive the kick. He handled a lot of the kicking duties a year ago. And Deuce McAllister is back there with him. McAllister, the very promising rookie out of Ole Miss. He's a threat every time he touched the ball in college. They expect the same here. And we are underway in 2001. The Deuce fumbles the ball, picks it up at the 10, shakes a couple of tacklers, and drops it to 17. Jim Haslett, a great 2000, now in his second year. Here's what he wants to see out of his offense. First, he has to find out who the starting quarterback's going to be, and then how much can Deuce McAllister give this ball club?
Well, I think the starting quarterback position is going to be wide open during the preseason. He is going to evaluate a lot of different things. How well they throw, their completion percentage, and also how they lead this football team.
Well, Deuce gave him a fumble on the opening kickoff.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Brooks will start at quarterback. First and 10 from the 17. He wants to throw on first down and throws complete to Lamont Hall, his tight end. Brooks only in his third year out of the University of Virginia, and he really surprised everybody when he came on last year after the injury to Blake and led them into the playoffs. They didn't miss a beat. Terrell Smith, the fullback, who's coming off lower back surgery in the offseason. They just want to get him some contact.
And with Aaron Brooks, you have to understand, here's a guy that really hasn't played a lot of football. He joined the team in the last year, wound up playing the last 7 games, 2 of them in the playoffs, but as far as starting a season, having the pressure of the starter behind him, Jim Haslett has to see how he handles that entire situation.
They got him in a trade from Green Bay. Williams will now go out as a receiver, leaving Smith as the only setback. Now he goes in motion. Blitz coming again. The tight end Hall across the 40, fighting for first down yardage. He gets out near the 42 before he's pushed back. Robert Griffith led the defensive charge.
Well, I'm going to tell you, they were so concerned with Ricky Williams being on the outside that nobody covered the tight end Lamont Hall. Take a look at this. Joe, when he throws his ball, Griffin is the closest guy to him, and he's a safety, and he was about 9 yards off.
Well, that's one of the things you see in preseason. When there's a lot of movement and defenses are trying to figure out what's going on, you'll see guys running wide open.
First down Saints from their own 42, and Williams will lose a yard. That's excellent defense that time. Robert Tate, number 28, came up in the corner and shut him down.
That particular play by Robert Tate, I believe, will become a staple for this Minnesota Viking defense. They did not get great run support from their corners last year. That's why Willie Shaw has come in as the defensive backfield coach. In my opinion, he could be the best position coach of defensive backs in football.
We saw what he has done in other venues in the National Football League. Robert Wilson is in as an additional receiver. He's number 80. The dangerous Joe Horn to the bottom of the screen. Play action underneath. Paul with his third catch in this opening drive, but only for about a yard. Here's what the Vikings want to do on defense. First, they have to replace John Randall, his intensity and his leadership. It may be up to Hovan or Johnstone, and they need better pass defense. 28th in the league last year. We talked about Willie Shaw.
Well, the one thing about the losing of John Randall, that all last year and the year before that, they double-teamed him on almost every play. They don't have anyone right now in the Minnesota defensive line that they have to double-team.
But they've got that guy coaching the secondary.
He has coached the defensive backs for Dennis Green before, back in the early 90s. Brooks with a lot of time to throw, now has to scramble. Still looking. And throws complete to Willie Jackson down at the 45-yard line. Another New Orleans first down.
But you have to be so impressed with the ability of that offensive line to allow Aaron Brooks to have time to throw the ball.
Boy, I'll tell you what, when you look at this offensive line again, they're just man blocking up front. There's Turley, all pro, and he really doesn't have. Lance Sawyer just takes it inside, so Turley just lets him go there and just force him inside. Brooks comes to the outside, bam.
With Turley and Rofe, you have a couple of great bookend tackles with this ball club. Dave Stahelski, number 89, is in as a tight end. And Williams on the toss, blockers in front. Tried to cut it outside, and his knees taken out from under him by Griffin. That offensive line with Rofe for New Orleans, 7 Pro Bowls starting his 9th year, and Turley on the other side. In the middle, you've got Williams, Naoli, and Fontenot. And really a very deep offensive line. They've got Tom Ackerman behind them. He probably is not going to stay with the club. A lot of teams interested in Ackerman.
Yeah, he's not interested in taking a pay cut, so they're not interested in keeping him.
And those are the days we are in. If you don't take a pay cut or restructure your contract, you're on the next bus out of town.
The way the ESPN gets to you today.
Little swing to Williams. Ricky lowers his shoulder and pulls for a couple of more. Just the last 6 regular season games last year with an ankle injury. He has been hurt a lot of his first 2 years. If he stays healthy, he's openly talking about 2,000 yards.
But an entirely different mental approach to this season. Worked very hard in the offseason to get in shape, worked on his speed and his strength. I really believe that if this offense decides it wants to run the football with him, he could get close to 2,000.
3rd and 6, the initial drive of the ball game for the Saints. They've been very efficient so far. Wanted the short zip, didn't get it, and Fernando Smith pulls through. Anytime you see a quarterback take a 3-step drop and he can't find that first receiver, he's in trouble.
Well, he's supposed to get rid of the ball, Joe, now.
Or take off and run. Either one of the two. If you don't see it on a 3-step drop, your offensive line is not going to be able to hold up very long. It's 1, 2, take a look, get out of dodge.
Toby Goen will come on to kick. And Troy Walters waits at the 10. Nice spiral. They'll let it go, and it reaches the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 20, a punt of 43. No return. The Vikings, our offense, will have it when we come back. You're watching the NFL preseason from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. The Vikings have the ball for the first time. The Saints had a pretty good drive, but stalled once they got into Minnesota territory. And now Dante Culpepper out of Central Florida leads them out. Vikings football. Brian Saucer and Doug Chapman is the running back. Blitz coming. Culpepper runs away from it. This guy can really go 260 pounds, and he runs over Fred Thomas. It's a gain of 20.
That's the risk you run. If you want to try and blitz him and he gets outside, all of your defensive backs have gone downfield to try and make a play. But watch the job that's done up front by the backs. You see the fake to number 34, Doug Chapman. Does a nice job on the pickup, which allows Dante Culpepper to get outside.
There is a marker down, and it looks like it's going to go against New Orleans.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 29 of the defense, hitting the player after the play was over, out of bounds. 15 yards, first down.
It's a strong safety, Sammy Knight, getting in an extra lick. Here's what the Vikings want to do on offense this year. First, they have to find a successor to running back Robert Smith, who retired. It's up to Chapman, Bennett, or Williams. And how will they handle the hitting? This is their first game or scrimmage in pads. Spot the ball at the New Orleans 44. Culpepper wants to throw again. Hit from behind, lost the football. And the Vikings got it back. Sammy Knight coming on the blind side blitz.
This is what happens when your offensive linemen don't have a chance to get into a practice situation against someone where it's full speed. There are different levels that this game is played at.
Well, just remember one thing. Here comes Sammy Knight, number 29. The tackle moves out to block him, but he gets by and makes the hit.
The offensive line, Lewinsky at right tackle. Lucina, former Bill, goes to left guard. Burke only 16 starts. Badger will try left tackle again. He played that spot for the Redskins as a youngster, did not do well. And the last 2 seasons, they have lost 4 Pro Bowl offensive linemen.
Before the ball was snapped,
You
ball
mentioned
start,
Badger, and he's a false
84,
start.
offense, 5 yards, still second down.
Badger was a guard in college, and they put him out at tackle, and he really struggled there, and now he's going to have to do it again with the Vikings.
This is a group that has not had an opportunity, like I said, to work together very much, or with this kind of heat. You talk about one of the best defensive lines in football that the New Orleans Saints are putting out there. So this isn't just somebody you warm up against. They're coming at you full bore.
Jake Reed, the number 86 in, is the 3rd wide receiver. 4-man rush, Culpepper with time. Deep down the middle, Moss! Goodbye! You wondered how long it would take. And it didn't take long.
Well, Denny Green told us the other day, the one thing I really remember he said, he says, you know, we may have, Joe, a better offense than we had in '98, and that was frightening.
Well, your concerns are about the offensive line, but you still have the 3 stars that can make plays. How do you make up for a Robert Smith? There's one way, Mike.
Gary Anderson, Methuselah with a point after. An 80-yard drive in 1:38, and Randy Moss with the big bomb for the touchdown. 7-0 Vikings. We'll be back after this. Let's go down to the field. Susie Culver, the latest member of our team. Susie.
Thanks, Mike. And this was just what the Saints were afraid of. Defeat coach Rick Venturi said they can't give up the big play to number 84. And believe it or not, Randy Moss has managed to get better. He said his goals for the season to put on his resume, better endurance. He's slimmed down. He's faster than ever.
Susie, isn't that amazing? And it's wonderful to have you with us. And Deuce McAllister returns that kick across the 15. The Saints will start from there. Moss, the most dangerous player, to my mind, in the National Football League. 17 touchdowns 3 years ago. Last year hit 15.
$75 million. Is he worth it?
Yeah, he's worth it. He got it, didn't he?
If it's your money.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Not my money. He's worth it. You're worth whatever you get.
Williams is the single setback. Trying to get to the outside, a lot of purple shirts there, and he'll lose a couple. Ricky Williams with no room to run that time.
There's Tate again on the outside. You see in the corner, they're putting 8 in the box, and this is one of the things the New Orleans Saints would love to do is get people out of that. But when you have Ricky Williams back there, they're going to play in the box. And then when they bring that corner up, it's impossible to run.
That's why you get a Ricky Williams and possibly a Deuce McAllister back there with him, who's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. Both of them can catch the ball. It can put pressure down the middle of the defense.
So far, it has not gone well for Ricky. His carries -1, -2, and -5. He hasn't seen the line of scrimmage yet. Williams goes in motion this time. Brooks, the quarterback, and whistles and kills the play.
Delay. Offense, 5 yards. Still second down.
Susie?
You know, Ricky Williams seems happier and more fit than ever. He did say that when they drafted Deuce McAllister, he felt a little awkward about that he felt that maybe they were going to have him take his position, but once he was assured by Coach Haslett that wasn't the case, he kind of took him under his wing, and he's really worked with him. But we should expect a lot from Ricky, who says he could reach 2,000 yards this season. That's how fit he is.
Pretty hefty goal there. Willie Jackson takes the quick hitch up across the 20-yard line. One of the most amazing things about Williams is he was so shy around people. You remember the image of him wearing that face shield during interviews last year. He was diagnosed in the offseason with anxiety disorder and taking medication to control it, and he has really become a different, much more outgoing, comfortable person. 3rd and 12. 4-man rush against Brooks, trying to scramble. Then he guns it down the middle, and Horn makes the catch across the 40. Nice throw.
Nice throw. Give the offense. We're going to talk about these guys as long as they're in the ball game, but I'll tell you what, this offensive line is something else.
Joe Horn is still down. The guy who had a breakout season last year, 94 catches, 1,340 yards, both team records. They could ill afford to lose him. We'll check on Horn's condition when we come back. Back at the Alamo Dome where the Vikings lead the Saints 7-0. Joe Horn able to leave under his own power. A year ago when they got him as a free agent from Kansas City, he had just an unbelievable season and gave them tremendous downfield presence. He looks like he's all right. Down on the field for quite a while. Play action to Williams. Brooks with time again down the middle to Jackson. And Jackson to the Vikings 38. Gain of 20. Brooks looks sharp.
Boy, I'll tell you, you can't talk enough about an offensive line. Remember, these guys played all 16 games a year ago. Look at these guys. Look at this protection that he gets. There isn't anybody really off the line of scrimmage in the middle of the field.
And the one thing they wanted to talk about doing was getting the perimeter, getting the ball down the field more to their wide receivers. Remember now, they've also added Albert Connell to this wide receiving corps from the Redskins.
Williams, the first time he's had positive yards tonight, gets to the 36. And while we have a second, let's check in with our buddy Mark Malone. Mark.
All right, thanks, Mike. A lot of action out there as we take a look at Seattle. Ricky Waters on a 1-yard touchdown run. Bears-Titans. Steve McNair, who's spent most of the offseason with a shoulder problem, finds Derek Mason, and he scores a touchdown, and now the score is 7-7, Chicago, Tennessee. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Mark, and he will be in the studio all night long updating us on all these games going on in preseason action. The injured player for the Vikings, Gabe Northern, who they are looking to as the replacement for Dwayne Rudd at that strong side linebacker spot. And good news for the Saints fans, Joe Horn has checked back into the ballgame. Brooks off to a nice start, 8 for 8, 97 yards. Moved them well on both drives. Williams with Smith as his lead blocker. pounds his way down to the 32.
I really believe an offensive line has to get into a rhythm of trying to be able to establish a run. Coaches during the preseason will take different approaches. For example, it looks like New Orleans on offense, they want to take a look at getting the ball spread out around the field. I will eventually think that in the second quarter, they'll get to the running game. But right now, it looks like let's feature the pass. Let's see what it looks like on film and evaluate.
3rd and 4 for the Saints. Their second time in Viking territory during the first quarter. Brooks with plenty of time. Jackson, a flag is down. Jackson is out of bounds with a first down. We'll check the penalty. 4 catches already for Willie Jackson, the veteran out of Florida. They picked him up from Cincinnati last season. And it will go against the Vikings secondary.
Denny Green is as curious as anybody as to what his football team is going to look like tonight as they really start to get their first feel of contact.
I'll tell you, it really has to feel strange to these guys, Joe, because they haven't hit anybody, not even themselves.
You know, number 29, defense, penalties decline, take the result of the play, first down.
Loss was Serwanga.
Out of bounds, we'll bring the ball back to the spot of the fumble.
Serwanga is called for the hold, and they'll mark the ball up to 23. It will be a first down.
And it's really for the interior guys in the linebackers. We saw Randy Moss. I watched him in practice yesterday. He did the same thing, running up the field. It isn't so much for those guys. It's for the interior linemen and the defensive front seven.
Brooks leans into one. Jackson, touchdown. He beat Kenny Wright, and the ball was right there.
I'll tell you, man, oh man, when you look at this offensive line, here's the receiver, Joe.
He just goes up top. Kenny Wright cuts him loose, and he really doesn't get any safety help. I think this is a miscommunication in the secondary, where when he cuts him loose, looks inside, he's expecting the secondary guy, the safety, to be there. He wasn't.
Brooks and Jackson off to brilliant starts. Brooks hasn't missed in 10 tries, 129 yards and a touchdown. Jackson has 5 catches for 75 yards. So 2 impressive drives by the Saints. That one turns into 7 points. This ESPN NFL preseason special is brought to you by Honda. For a limited time, your Honda dealer has great down-to-earth deals on all our ATVs. By Best Buy. For the latest technology, turn on the fun at Best Buy. By 1-800-COLLECT. Save a buck or two. By Pure Later. Pure oil now. Pure oil later. And by Rolaids. Rolaids. R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Spells relief. Tied at 7 here with 2:56 to go first quarter. Goen will punt. And Troy Walters is deep back there with Morgan as a blocker. Walters blocked as he got to the 15-yard line. Cedric Hodge, the rookie linebacker out of North Carolina, drilled him. Back at the Alamo Dome, where the Vikings and the Saints are tied at 7. And signs of Corey Stringer abound in the stadium.
Got there in different ways. Minnesota took 3 plays in 1:38. New Orleans has taken 18 in 10:26.
And there's the guy who did the damage on that first Minnesota score. Flying saucer, the blocking back in front of Chapman. Chapman on the draw. Burst through a hole up to the 29. Let's go, man.
The sounds of autumn are upon us. Battles being waged across America's gridiron. Monday, the Dolphins.
Everything you got, baby.
The Buccaneers.
Play with energy, man.
Summer's battles lead to autumn's war.
27-yard.
First and 10 for Minnesota. Chapman again, and this time cut down as the safety, Jake Bellamy, comes through to whack him. Chapman was inactive all of last year, and they didn't particularly care for his practice habits as a rookie. But knowing that Robert Smith had retired, he has shown some renewed enthusiasm, and he's got some skills.
Even more than that, Mike, he's worked very hard, but now he sees the window of opportunity. And whether Michael Bennett plays or not, he's not going to be up to this caliber of play so early in his rookie season.
Out of the eye this time, and Culpepper wants to throw under pressure. Again, shakes a tackle. He's so good at that. And then throws down the sideline behind his receiver, and Keith Mitchell took Byron Chamberlain out of bounds, and now they question whether it's a catch or not.
Well, I'll tell you what, you see how strong Dante Culpepper is. That was Darren Howard, the defensive left end, or defensive end.
Came down, out of bounds, third down.
It is incomplete as Chamberlain couldn't keep both feet in.
We get a chance to take a little look-see. This angle is sort of hard to tell. Yep, good call by the official. Right foot down, left foot out.
That's the first incompletion of this ball game. I mean, they're catching everything so far.
And they're going to need Byron Chamberlain. We talked about ways to replace Robert Smith. He's going to be one that's going to have to step up and be a receiving tight end for them.
Caught 54 balls the last 2 years with Denver. He's a good one. Here comes the blitz. Culpepper runs right up the middle. Dante Culpepper, look at the speed to go with the 260 pounds.
You know, it's amazing. I'll tell you what, he saw the blitz, he read it. Klein Saucer, number 40, was playing in the fullback position, and he is huge. He gets an excellent block, but the thing about Culpepper is he doesn't even hesitate. Watch this. He sees the blitz, I'm gone. Here's the hole, and he's upfield. Now what? That's 260 pounds, folks.
And you've got the defensive backs running down the field trying to stay with Randy Moss and Chris Carter.
29 on that run. He's had 2 carries in the game for 50 yards. When he gets in the secondary, he can run away from him or he can run over him.
He may get 1,000 yards just in preseason.
Vikings will use a timeout with 54 seconds to go in the first quarter. Guys, a very entertaining game so far. Both teams have shown us some pretty good offense.
Energetic by the Minnesota Vikings, and this is sort of what you expect. They've been waiting, chomping at the bit to get out and play. This is only going to be a quarter for most of the starters, though, and they're going to have to play themselves into 60 minutes of football. Saints look pretty good, though, huh? On offense?
Offense? I'm really surprised at the Saints defense, because talking to Leroy Glover today, he was just saying, he said, we are there. All we have to do now is just kind of tune this thing up.
And that's where Jim Haslett hangs his hat, is on the defensive side of the ball.
And this is a terrific defensive unit. You mentioned earlier, Joe, you think it's the best defensive line in the game, and that's tough to argue with, too.
Over 40 sacks, 45 and a half sacks by the defensive line alone of the 66 they got.
And Norman Hand only had 3 of those, so the other 3 guys were after the quarterback all the time. Culpepper, short set, goes to Carter. Down to the 34. There was a headline in the offseason that this would be the last year for Chris Carter, but that's not necessarily the case.
Not if you talk to Chris Carter. He said, now wait a second. I said that it could be. I never said definitively that this was going to be his last year. I personally think he'll be back. And I do believe that the Corey Stringer situation has something to do with him rethinking the opportunity to retire or not. I think he sees this football team being pretty good still, too, with him around.
And certainly it doesn't look like his skills have diminished. He worked harder than ever in the offseason. Culpepper with Tom Moss. Some contact, but no flag. Going shoulder to shoulder with him was Fred Weary. Susie, what do you have on Chris Carter?
Well, you know what's amazing is that he hasn't caught a ball in the offseason in 6 or 7 years. He says most people like to work on their strengths, but he doesn't. He only works on the weaknesses. So he works on speed, agility, quickness, and he uses some track techniques. If you watch him come off the line, he keeps his head real low, like a track runner would when they come out of the blocks.
Why would he work on his catching when he catches everything anyway?
Jerry Rice, the only one who has put up the kind of numbers that Chris Carter has. Hall of Fame career. Culpepper, quarterback keeper. He's got the first down at the 30 as time expires in the first quarter here in San Antonio. The score, New Orleans 7, Minnesota 7. We'll be back with the start of the second quarter in just a moment. Back at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, the Vikings and the Saints tied at 7. The Vikings are driving. They have reached the New Orleans 30-yard line. And Michael Bennett, the prize rookie out of Wisconsin, is into the game for the first time. He followed Ron Dane, the Heisman winner of Wisconsin, and racked up some big numbers. Play action to him. Culpepper to Moss, and he dropped it.
Now they're coming in and saying he dropped it, but there are 2 officials down there that didn't do anything.
You won't see that one very often.
Just remember, you have to have possession of the ball and come down with both feet. It's not like, you know, when you see, all right, here's Moss here coming across the middle. Now, does he have possession of the ball when he tries to put it away? The ball's in his hands. No, he never did. It's an excellent call. See, the ball is never had control. He never had control of the football.
He's just looking for some place to run before he caught the ball.
Bennett trying to get outside, turns the corner, and picked up nearly 10 yards. Bennett, a very good athlete, comes from an athletic family. His mom was a high school basketball and track star. His uncle Tony was a star at Alabama, first-round draft choice by Green Bay. His uncle Charles was with the Dolphins briefly. He certainly has the pedigree.
He also has a move. You see that move he just made to the inside and went back outside?
He's a Big Ten sprint champion. He ducks that shoulder and cuts outside. He can really do it. Flying saucer with a rare carry. He'll get a couple. The Vikings, of course, are an offensive machine, and we asked Michael Bennett what it was like to be in the huddle with all those superstars.
It's just a great feeling. You know, like a kid at Christmas time. You get that gift that you always wanted. And, you know, and it's the same for me. I get in the huddle, and I look into their eyes, and it's just like, man, you know, I'm here, and it's just unbelievable.
Very pleasant young man. It's like Christmas time, and you've got as much money as Santa.
I asked him if he got any autographs yet. He said he hasn't asked yet, but his mom wanted to know why.
Bennett, big hole. Let's go to Susie Colbert.
And we talked about him being overwhelmed. He tried to compare the pros to college. He said in the pros, the playbook is like Webster's dictionary. At Wisconsin, it was like a children's book. A lot to learn, especially for him on third down. He needs to be able to pick up those blitzes.
You know what's really nice about him yesterday? He's in the meeting room with us, and he left a plate of food on the table. Chris Carter came in, and he looked at him begging, "Do you mind if I get my food and leave now?" Scared to death.
He's still a rookie. Bennett is back in there behind Kleinsaucer. Run the option with Culpepper. Touchdown. I think that's a great play in that situation.
I'm going to tell you, if I'm on defense, that's frightening. That is frightening, watching that guy go down the line and running the quarterback option.
It's a great play, but also for this individual, for Dante Culpepper. He just makes a fake. He runs through a defensive back, runs right through his hands. Piece of cake there for Jay Bellamy. You know, that's the kind of plays I think we'll see out of Michael Vick with the Atlanta Falcons also.
I agree.
I think that type of athletic ability.
Anderson is on for the point after. Perfect again. So the Vikings providing some fireworks in San Antonio, backed up by a touchdown. .12:48 to go, second quarter play from the Alamo Dome. The Vikings have just completed a 12-play drive to regain the lead. Culpepper ran it in on the option. Deuce McAllister waiting for the kick. He's back there with Fred McAfee.
Okay, New Orleans' turn.
That's the way it's been going, isn't it? McAllister from the 6. And gets back to about the 25.
We've talked about the offensive line, and Brad Badger right there is going to have to replace Todd Stussy. Look at the job he does. Offensive linemen have got to come out, comes out, does a good job on Joe Johnson. Now right here, see how he freezes? By sealing it here, he gives Dante Culpepper an opportunity to make the turn on the corner. Now he only has the option on the back, or else he can take it in and run over Jay Bellamy.
He didn't option on anybody.
He's always option on the secondary guy.
He wanted to run over somebody is what he wanted to do.
Mike Tice, right in the middle of that offensive line huddle, is one of the guys that really is dealing with a lot of emotion.
Jeff Blake is in to run the New Orleans offense. And he's hit from behind on the first play and sacked. Sean Northern, the 4th-round draft choice out of TCU. Let's check in with Mark Malone.
Thanks, Mike. Earlier this week, Dick Duran named Shane Matthews his opening day starter. So Matthews, trailing 7-0 over the Titans, finds Marty Booker right down the seam. Beautiful pass, 63-yard touchdown. That tied at 7-all, and that's where it stands now in the second quarter.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Worthen gets the first sack of his professional career. McAllister and Norris are the backs now for New Orleans behind Blake. Play action. Wants the screen. More Norris as a flag goes down, reaches the 21. Norris, a rookie out of Kansas, with Kylie Wong, the middle linebacker, number 52, in on the stop. Be a chop block, an illegal block against the Saints, and that'll be a big penalty.
Well, you know, this is the offensive line of the New Orleans Saints that we talked about how great they are with great tackles. But just take a look at the blocking of this football team. When you can stand back there and pick your target, watch this. Look at the line. Nobody on the defensive line gets off the ball. They just stuff you right at the line of scrimmage. And it starts with the 2 tackles on the outside, and it works its way inside. That's just great play as a unit.
Not only that, they do an excellent job of creating throwing lanes for Aaron Brooks there. He doesn't have a defender right in his sights. He's able to throw through a clean lane and have vision to the receiver.
Blake leads them out after the penalty. He's got some big numbers to live up to on 2nd and 26 because Brooks was 10 out of 10 for 129 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, but Brooks had the first offensive line also.
Play action by Blake. And incomplete. Good defense by Morgan, knocked it away. Blake in a battle with Brooks to see who was going to be the starting quarterback. He, of course, started last year. Broken foot and a dislocated foot after he started the first 11 games.
But he is also the guy that I think ignited this New Orleans Saints football team and started making them believing that they could win. Now, I don't know who's going to wind up being the starting quarterback, but he's got to deserve some credit for last year and getting this football team pointed in the right direction.
Now 3rd and 26. Blake with time now. He's flushed out of the pocket and brought down inside the 10. Got from behind by Lance Johnstone. Johnstone picked up from the Raiders a speed rusher who had 21 sacks in 98 and 99, and they need him to come through.
Well, they think that Lance Johnstone is going to be their answer to the pass rusher. And on that play there, I mean, he had plenty of time to get to the quarterback. Blake really had no chance.
The 3rd down and 26 is not one of those enviable down and distances.
There is no play for that, is there? No. Which Lance Johnstone was the last guy he wanted to see. That was the man who broke his foot a year ago. Here's Walters on the punt return. Only gets back to the 42. A return of 6 after a punt of 37. We've got a timeout. It's a 7-point Viking lead. Back in beautiful San Antonio, Texas, the south central part of the state, and the sun just ready to set on another 99-degree day.
I think you come out right here and maybe try and go let Randy Moss run again.
Culpepper looking that way, then goes underneath the Klein saucer. Chris Carter, of course, the spiritual leader of this ball club, and we asked him how he addressed the team after Corey Stringer's death.
We just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And, you know, I told them then at that point that I really needed some of them to step up and help me because I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the things to say. I don't know all the right things to do. But the one thing I was committed to was keeping us together as a team.
Culpepper being chased and throws incomplete, trying for Andrew Jordan. You know, I can't think of anyone better than Chris Carter to help bring a team together. He has matured so much. He has so much respect from everybody else in that locker room.
Well, I think also Chris is one guy, but I think Denny Green is another coach who has handled a lot of very difficult situations with this football team. And I think the combination of these men as leaders for this football team will serve them well. I think they'll get on and get on to business. They played very, very well tonight. I mean, they've come out and played very well.
Culpepper to the shotgun against the 4-man rush. Moss bobbled it incomplete. Had it, then lost it and couldn't get it back. Tim Carter, the rookie, was with him, but Moss could have had a touchdown out of that one easily. Did he fly or what?
Oh, fly. But forget about him flying. You got to look where this ball is thrown to. This ball goes between two people, and watch where it hits Randy Moss. Look at this. Right in the hand. I mean, that was absolutely perfect.
Berger is on to punt, and McAllister waits back at the 10. Big rush, and he shanked it. Berger didn't even get it to the 20-yard line as the powerful rush on special teams made him get off the bad kick. Only 13 yards net.
Don't use that word.
Shank.
Don't use that word. Wash your mouth out. That's not very nice of you.
Randy Moss beating himself up a little bit after dropping that touchdown catch. And now he's going to pay the penalty. He's going to do his own set of push-ups.
That's what happens. Give me 20.
Jeff Blake and the Saints take over at their own 26. The deuce. We're about a deuce. Go to Susie Culver. Susie.
And Randy Moss has had a couple drops tonight, certainly not in his character. This has developed since the end of last year. Dante Culpepper always jokes that his coaches say, don't throw it into double coverage. Randy's always saying to him, go ahead, throw it. I will come down with it. Well, there he doesn't, but usually he does. And Dante knows it's a safe bet now.
The other thing about that, Susie, is you saw about the 20-yard line, Randy throw his hand up in the air. That's a silent communication between he and Dante that if he throws his hand up in the air, he's not breaking a route off. He's taking it to the house so that both the quarterback and the receiver know. When you got a guy that fast and he feels like he can beat people, it's a perfect option to give him.
I know it would be slightly impractical, but I wouldn't mind watching the Vikings if I was a Viking fan. See it throw it to him every time.
Neither would he. Randy's that way. Randy's that way.
I bet he did 50 push-ups. Because when we came back, when he was doing it on the break, when we came back, he was still during the play. I used to do like 5 or 6. in the entire year.
You really bumped up.
I felt great.
Fernando Smith, the injured player, up and able to leave under his own steam.
Preseason week continues on ESPN. Monday night, the Dolphins head to Tampa for an in-state warm-up as Jay Fiedler looks to find holes against Warren Sapp and the Bucs' stifling defense. Dolphins, Bucs, 8 p.m. Monday.
Ricky Williams, the starting tailback, who has given up his spot in the lineup now to the rookie Deuce McAllister. First-round draft choice out of Ole Miss.
Number 18, Jeff Blake, the quarterback for the Saints.
And McAllister will lose a Deuce again. This guy has tremendous speed. He is an excellent receiver.
Yeah, but you missed 7 days of training camp. I don't care. It's going to set you back, and especially in a system that has such complicated verbiage as the New Orleans Saints. It's one thing to learn where you're supposed to go. Then you have to figure out how you're supposed to get there, and it's just going to take him time to get more and more comfortable.
3rd and 14, and Blake will go to the shotgun. Good protection this time. Then it breaks down. Blake lost the football. The Saints got it back, picked up by the center, Jerry Fontenot. Or check it, Wally Williams, the left guard, was the one who made the recovery and advanced it a couple of yards.
And some good moves, I might add. Just fall on it. I mean, the guys will appreciate that when they look at that on film.
They'll also tell them, don't pick it up and run with it, fall on it.
Toby Goen will kick it away, and Walters waiting to return it. Signals fair catch, makes it at the 42. Tomorrow night, Ichiro and the Seattle Mariners host the Chicago White Sox at 8 Eastern. Sunday night baseball presented by Nextel on ESPN. If you can't get to a TV, ESPN Radio has nationwide coverage. Check your local listings for a station in your area.
How about Jose Canseco finding a home with the White Sox, hitting home run?
Well, I tell you what, if you were to say to somebody at the beginning of the year, somebody has a shot at breaking the all-time record for wins, you'd be there a while before the Mariners came out of their mouths, and they have just done an incredible job. And Ichiro is a wonderful story. Bauman in at quarterback. Dumps it underneath, the completion to Chapman. 14-7 Minnesota. Welcome to the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. It's been a very well-played ball game.
Oh, I was expecting Minnesota to, not be really in tempo, but they are.
I didn't. If you watch them work without pads, and really that's what you're looking at, is Chris Carter, Randy Moss, the wide receivers, they look very efficient in what they wanted to do. And I think it's just carried over for them. I think they were really looking forward to coming into this football game and saying, let's just get out and go have some fun. And that's really what they've done. They've really had a lot of fun.
That was Chapman on the last carry, a marker down on the play that's going to go against Minnesota.
Well, one thing about New Orleans, though, they said, we're just picking up, because they're a more veteran team. And they said, we're just going to pick up from last year. We're really going to work on this tempo. And they really, except for that one drive, they have no tempo, not on offense or defense.
Some of the aggressiveness of the Minnesota Vikings, I think, has to contribute to that. Fresh legs, they haven't been beat up. Randy Moss certainly putting on a show as usual. Dante Culpepper looked really excited. Really, really excited to be out there playing. You can tell he's enjoyed it. 75 yards passing, 66 yards rushing. That's something to get excited about.
Very emotional young man and incredibly talented. 2nd and 12. There's a little pressure straight up the middle. Comes Bobby Setzer, number 75, to make the tackle on Chapman. In case you joined us late, you missed the fireworks early as Randy Moss, a 60-yard strike from Culpepper. Minnesota took a 7-0 lead in the ballgame. The Saints came right back. Marched down the field, Willie Jackson with a touchdown catch, and then Culpepper on the option, showing his speed, elusiveness, and power. And and that's where we stand, 14-7. Could have been more earlier, but Moss dropped the touchdown pass.
You know, when you're talking about Culpepper, speed, elusiveness, and power, there aren't any quarterbacks you say that about.
No, not many players you can say that about.
Bauman throws a strike. Walsh made the catch in the New Orleans territory. Chris Walsh, a gain of 27. Nice throw from Todd Bauman.
What a throw, and he had great protection. This ball is right on target, and Walsh is there to make the catch. Bauman's another big kid. He's 6'2", 230 pounds, but look at the lane he has to throw the ball in. That's what you look at.
And I also look at the tightness of a spiral. I think you have to be able to throw the ball tight, because that'll allow you to throw in all conditions.
Bauman, a little swing to Chapman. You know, Bauman is a guy who has moved up the food chain on this ball club. He was on the practice squad in '97. They liked him enough to keep him as the fourth quarterback in '98. He was still the fourth quarterback in '99, then got a lot of experience in NFL Europe. Last year, third quarterback to Bubby Christon. Now he is the backup to Culpepper. And as strong as Culpepper is, most teams need two quarterbacks. 2nd and 9. Chapman on the draw, and he is bombed by Setzer.
This is 2 plays in a row for Setzer, number 75. It looked like he was in the huddle, and he knew it was going to be a draw play.
Talking to Jim Haslett earlier today, he talked about the depth of his defensive line. They've got Kenny Smith, the 3rd-round pick, number 90. You saw what Setzer can do. This is a football team that is deep, not just in the defensive lines. Their linebackers go 6-7 deep as well.
Well, they got a linebacker in Cedric Hodge from North Carolina. They said size and speed. This is a big man. It will knock you out.
3rd and 13. And whistles will stop the play.
Prior to the snap, illegal snap, 60, the offense, 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Corey Withrow, the backup center. Robert Smith was such an integral part of this offense. When you tried to gang up on Moss and Carter, Smith just chopped you apart. 6,818 rushing yards, a club record, and averaged nearly 5 yards a carry.
Also a great blocker. And I'll tell you something. Chris Carter was saying about him, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was really smart.
Guy you could really count on. 3rd and 18 after the penalty. Bauman, that one is knocked away at the last minute. Good defense by Richard Newsom, the rookie out of Michigan State. Got to the sideline and got a fingertip on it. So Berger, who, Joe, I have to use the term again, it's the only one that fits. He yanked one the last time.
No, he didn't. He hit it off his foot. He hit it off the side of his foot and went out of bounds very short.
McAllister waits at the 10.
That's that golfing term I don't want to hear.
Another pressure situation. McAllister just gains the fair catch and takes it back 17 yards after a 36-yard punt. Let's go to Martin Malone. Martin?
Mike in Cleveland. It's Browns and Packers. First-round draft pick from a year ago, Tim Couch. Looking for somebody who wants to make an impression. How about Jamal White? That's good for 9 yards and the touchdown. White 3rd on the depth chart. That made it 7-zip. It's now 7-3, and they're holding their breath in Indianapolis. Look at Seattle's corner. Sean Spring comes up with a pulled hamstring. He has not returned. That score is 7-3. Back to you.
When you don't want to see that. He's such a tremendous player.
Remember last year when we did the Minnesota Vikings in the Arizona Cardinal game?
3 guys went out.
That game they lost. The Cardinals lost 3 starters. Rob Moore, 2 secondary guys, and it really set the entire team back all year.
Absolutely. The turf just ruined them. Blitz. McAllister out of the backfield. Oh, what a move up to the 40. What a move. Craig Sauer had him right in the sights, and all at once he wasn't there.
Was that beautiful?
Chad Morton comes in as the running back. He's number 30. He's been a good third down back for the Saints. Blake, and this one is picked off. Intercepted by Sauer. So they made him look bad on one play, and then Sauer comes back and gets the interception off of Blake.
Jeff Blake gets a chance to look down the middle. You see what happens? Did you see just how he got hit? Now, this is an interception, but the defensive lineman just managed to get a hand on him, and when you grab the left shoulder of a quarterback, it's going to yank the ball further to the left, and that's what happened.
So the Vikings with a break, they'll start at the Saints 46. Bennett and Morrow, the backs behind Bauman. He steps up. Incomplete, intended for Jake Reed. There's a penalty flag down inside the 3.
Defensive pass interference.
Newsom was running with him stride for stride, and there was contact. And they're delighted to have Jake Reed back in a Viking uniform.
But I want you to watch Jake Reed's inside hand. Okay, let's see if he pushes off.
No.
No, he didn't.
Spent his entire career with Minnesota until going to New Orleans last year. We caught only 16 passes.
Well, Chris Carter was saying that they have Jake Reed back, which really helps him, as they can put him out in the X position or by himself on one side, and then put Moss and Carter on the other side. And that is really going to open up the defense.
And you also lose a Matthew Hatchett, so you need a guy to come in as that third receiver.
Morrow, the single setback, he'll get the carry near the goal line. Phil Clark led the defensive charge.
Here's your favorite, Joe, ump can.
There's the ump can, right in the middle of it. There he is, doing a good job of following the action.
Second and goal. Bennett comes in, and the Saints shuffling personnel at the last minute. And now they're going to have to use the timeout, as they couldn't get people on and off the field in time. This ESPN NFL preseason special is brought to you by AccuView brand contact lenses, advancing the science of sight by Gateway, where you've got a friend in the business by K-Swiss, by Pep Boys, all you need to know is where to go, Pep Boys, and by State Farm Insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Alamo Dome in San Antonio.
More like the Alamo Square.
And if you wonder why this game is in San Antonio, this is the home of Red McCombs, the Vikings owner. Morrow and Bennett are the backs. Bennett dives, touchdown. And the rookie from Wisconsin is pumped.
First TD in an NFL uniform.
When we had a chance to sit with him, he's the type of a young man that you just have to root for. He has a genuine sincerity about him, and this whole world is just so new to him. It's so exciting.
We talked to him, he said, what is it like trying to fill the shoes of Robert Smith? He said, I filled the shoes of the Heisman Trophy winner, Ron Dane.
It's a good start.
It's a great line.
These are going to be a little tougher.
I think so.
Gary Anderson for the point after, now in his 20th year in the NFL, as the league's all-time scoring leader converts again. Well, the Vikings had a lot of questions they had to answer, and the coaching staff and the players have to feel very good about this performance in the first half after what they've been through.
And that man right there, Red McCombs, the owner, this This game probably ranks right behind the NFC Championship games as far as importance goes. This is where he's made his fortune. This is where he lives. This is his home, and his family's here. A couple nights ago, had the entire Viking organization.
Yeah, not just the team.
In his kitchen.
And he asked us to come out, but we were working so hard we couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, he fit them all just in the kitchen area. Chris Carter said, I have a room there already reserved for me. I'm staying there from now on.
Randy Moss has a wing.
Berger will kick, and the Vikings have extended their lead to 14 with 2:39 to go, first half of play. McAllister, a yard deep. Turns on the speed. Lost the football.
They got it back.
It's the second time the ball has come loose on a kick return for McAllister.
Well, Phil Clark, 51, was there, and I think he's the guy that fell on it.
Check in with Susie.
Well, it's probably the most publicized quarterback battle in the league. Aaron Brooks and Jeff Blake both battling for that #1 spot. Well, tonight it seems awfully clear. Brooks 10 for 10, Jeff Blake 2 for 4. And Joe and I might disagree on this. I believe that Jim Haslett was leaning towards Aaron Brooks. When he described him, he used the word Super Bowl. Kyle Curley talked about all the talent, talking to Ricky Williams before the game. He talked about running behind Aaron this season. So I still believe it's going to be Aaron Brooks.
All right, Susie, we'll get Joe's thought on it in a second. I thought when we were talking to Jim Haslett on the phone, when he said Brooks the kind of guy that could lead you to a Super Bowl, I thought that was a pretty good clue.
I think he appreciates Aaron Brooks' athletic ability, but Jeff Blake, like I said, you can't compare the statistics tonight. Jeff is playing with the second unit.
True.
Aaron's played with the first. Let's see how Jeff does the next week when he gets a chance to play with the first unit. I'll grant the fact that Aaron Brooks has a lot of up talent, a lot of opportunity to improve and grow and do special things for this team.
We have reached the 2-minute warning here in the first half. Minnesota on top, 21-7. Coming up on the Zima halftime show, Bonds chasing history, added again today, McGuire making history, and Michael Vick off and running for the Falcons. Quite a prospect.
I think he's sensational.
Had a brilliant college career.
I said it coming out.
Yeah.
He's a smaller version of a Dante Culpepper with the same type of ball-throwing ability.
He doesn't have that guy.
No,
he couldn't be bigger.
45 pounds, 50 pounds lighter.
Blake under pressure, and they got him back near the 20-yard line. Chris Hovan came through from his tackle spot. Hovan, second-year player out of Boston College.
And Hovan gets to play a different type of position. You see number 99 just go flying right by Nick O'Brien, number 67. He will play the under tackle. Now in Minnesota, Lord, Keith Millard, John Randall, they have been the under tackles. They're the guys that they expect to make the plays.
3rd and 19 with the clock running. Blake has to be flushed out of the pocket again, trying to get some extra yardage out of it, reaches the 31.
I don't think Blake has had, there's a flag.
And Jeff Blake's going to get a 15-yard penalty for throwing the ball at the defender. Lance Johnstone. It's just frustration, and a quarterback's got to keep their composure. Right at the end of the play, Lance gets him down.
Remember, this is the guy that broke his foot. Then he throws the ball at him, and that's 15 yards automatically.
Yeah, but you've got to somehow put the pass behind you.
Well,
here's the play we've talked about a couple of times where Blake had a couple of bones broken and his foot also had it dislocated. And Johnstone, the defensive end then for the Oakland Raiders, and obviously just
a normal hustle play and a good defensive play on his part. So now it's 4th down and a mile. Going to kick. Walters from the 31. And back only to the 37-yard line. 6-yard return after a punt of 38. 6 yards on the line. And they've got a minute 15 to the Vikings to do something with it on offense.
In preseason, head coaches and offensive coordinators love to have this situation. Sherm Lewis, the offensive coordinator, now gets a chance to see this offense operate in a 2-minute offense. You can't script it. Let's see how Todd does in this situation. Let's see how the receivers act. Do they get out of bounds? Do they hustle back to the huddle? Can he get them in and out of the huddle quickly so that they can run multiple plays? Those are all things that coordinators and coaches are looking for.
Bauman from the shotgun, and somebody moved early.
But this would be the same thing if the New Orleans Saints would have the ball and they were ahead at this particular time. What they in a regular season game, they would not be doing that.
Snap, false start, 69, offense, 5 yards, still first down.
There's Sherm Lewis, the offensive coordinator. But again, in the regular season, if they were ahead 21-7 at this point in time, they would be trying to run some plays to run this clock out and get off the field. But in a situation like this, I agree, Joe. Boy, they'd love.
I don't know, Grasshopper. Well, not when you've got Randy Moss and Chris Carter. I think if you have this much time, you're going to try and keep adding to it.
Should I ask where Grasshopper came from?
I have no idea.
He's my teacher.
I will not agree with him when it's not the regular season.
You ever watch Kung Fu?
That one's caught by Jake Reed, bobbled a little bit, but brought it in at the 45. Joe, I did watch, but not that intently.
A lot of time on your hands, Joe.
You know.
Clock stops with a minute 9 to go in the half. Vikings trying to build on a 21-7 lead.
Second down, 3 yards to go.
What Jake Reed had done in his career with the Vikings before he went to New Orleans, averaged nearly 16 yards a catch for his career. Gives him a very good third receiver. Bauman under pressure from behind and taken down. A sack from Marcus Douglas.
Lewis Kelly, number 61, is the man that tried to block Douglas, and he is a guy that Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, is counting on to try and lend some support to that offensive line that's had a lot of people leave in the last couple years.
3rd and 7. Bauman trying to get that first down yardage and overthrows Walters. He was covered well at the sideline by Michael Hawthorne, number 36. So they'll have to kick it away with 52 seconds to go on the clock.
Hey, Deuce McAllister, even after the first kickoff when he fumbled the ball, got the ball back, but he's been very impressive returning. I mean, he has no fear.
But you got to hold on to this football.
Yeah, well, he got it back. He dropped it, the opening kickoff, got it back. And
coaches don't care whether you got it back.
Yeah, they do. Uh-oh. Flag again.
Low line drive kick. McAllister backpedaling, bobbled it again.
They care about this one.
Still can't pick it up.
Touchdown.
It looks like the Vikings have it. No signal yet. Touchdown.
See, they care about that one.
That one he cares about.
There is a flag down, however, back at the line of scrimmage. That is the 3rd time McAllister has coughed it up tonight. That one could have cost them, but the penalty will be against the offense, and it will come back.
And I can assure you that Mr. McAllister is going to hear it, not only from the special teams coach.
Illegal formation on the offense. Number 59 was the in-man on the line. The penalty will be accepted. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 4th down.
Let us assure you of another thing. If this continues, his career as a kick returner is going to be cut short.
He's already on the bench, Mike. And Michael Lewis is in as the return man now. I mean, look at this. You've got to protect the football, young man.
Well, here's where he makes the mistake. As he reaches down for it, he looks up to see where the pressure is instead of just securing the ball, falling on it, and at least keeping possession.
Especially in a situation where there's only 40 seconds left to go in the half. Or any time.
McAllister has been getting an earful on the sideline. And there's Michael Lewis. Now here's what preseason is for. This is an opportunity for Lewis to do something good on special teams and maybe grab a job for himself.
First of all, hold on to the ball.
At this point, that's all he needs to do. Lewis up to the 23, a helmet and a chin strap fly, but the ball is still in there. An 8-yard return after a punt of 50. Monday night, ESPN continues its 15th season of NFL coverage. We have an interstate battle. Keyshawn Johnson and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Lamar Smith and the Dolphins at Raymond James.
And the addition of Brad Johnson. And you look at the 63%. That's why he's coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They want to increase their completion percentages. He feels like he can make Keyshawn better. He thinks Keyshawn can make him better. I tend to agree with him.
And I think the day they signed Brad Johnson, they punched their ticket to a Super Bowl game. Quick slant pass to Collins, who they say in camp has made a play a day.
And they had, Mike, just back to Tampa Bay, they had that ticket last year because that's where it was. But unfortunately, they didn't participate.
Yeah, they had to buy him last year. 24 seconds left. Dan Patrick standing by with the Zima halftime show coming up when we're done here. 24 on the clock. Some of the stories that Dan will be bringing us up to date on.
You know, it's going to be interesting. First time I've seen it, when we're doing a preseason game where you've got the Miami Dolphins going to Tampa Bay. They've already been there. They've had 3 practices against Tampa Bay. And now they're going to play them Monday night. For real, you know, that's kind of unusual that you go and practice against the team that you're going to play in you know, the same weekend. I just thought about something. We're going to be doing another game in about 40.
Less than 48 hours. We'll be bringing you the Tampa Bay Miami game. Looking forward to that one. I think this has been a very well-played game so far, except for the errors made by Deuce McAllister putting the ball on the ground. It's been quite efficient.
Blake with very little time to work with, steps up and throws deep and too high, intended for Collins to the sideline. Collins, a free agent rookie out of Morgan State. Pretty good target at 6'1", 208.
Yeah, that pass right there, he needed to be 7'8", 100.
I was watching Ricky Williams in warm-ups. He looked like an entirely different football player. And attitude is so important. He was having fun, jumping around, bouncing all over the place, throwing the ball around. Really excited about this season.
Coming off what they did last year, you can understand. Blake dumps it off underneath. McAllister takes it across midfield.
I like this move. It doesn't seem like very much, but getting Deuce McAllister in the game and giving him a chance to get his hands on the ball and hang on to it is great for his psyche. That's a good move by Jim Haslett. Mike McCarthy, the offensive coordinator.
You know, we were talking about Ricky Williams a few moments ago, Joe, about his mental aspect. And the thing about it is, when they were talking about when he came into even the minicamp, he's got 6% body fat. You know, I had, when I was born, I had 6% body fat. It's the last time. But I mean,
Your blanket had 6% body fat.
This guy is just in great shape, and everything's going to work for him. And they were talking, what, 2,000 yards? What do you think?
I think he's got a shot at it. I mean, you know, he got hurt with 6 games to go last year, up to 1,000 yards, and I think he can be a very featured part of what they want to do offensively, especially with the speed outside. Fewer people around the line of scrimmage.
Blake scrambles, throws on the run, too high and nearly picked off. Keith Thibodeau had a shot at it and couldn't hold it. That'll take the clock down to 4 seconds. Of course, you were mentioning Ricky Williams. He's going to be in a battle with Deuce McAllister. You don't draft a guy, number 1, without intending to use him at least some. Do you?
Well, I just think if you've got a Richard Williams, it's nice to have a nice guy in the backfield. But you mentioned something earlier. I would like to see those two guys in the backfield together.
And you will. It's sort of neat for him, too. This is the first time he's been back this way since he played at the University of Texas, where he won the Heisman and broke all kinds of records.
Blake, the protection finally breaks down, and then Blake is going to loft one. Jump ball knocked away, incomplete. So the Vikings have a very good offensive first half, especially as they put 21 on the board. Culpepper looked to be in mid-season form. And Blake, who played with second-team line and second-team receiver, did not put up the kind of number that Brooks did in the first quarter. Brooks looked absolutely brilliant.
I think the Vikings have to feel pretty good about themselves. They've managed to hit some people. The people have hit them. Their stars have played well, and one of the things that Denny talked about was trying to find a rhythm. Well, it certainly looked like they found one on offense. I thought their secondary played real well also.
All right, let's go to Susie Culver. Susie.
Chris, you were genuinely concerned about this team going in. You must feel a whole lot better now.
I do feel a lot better. A lot of unknowns. I think the one thing that, people don't understand, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Green. I mean, he really rallied around, the tragedy of Big K and the team. There's a lot of things we didn't know. We hadn't had a lot of practice time, but Coach Green kept everything together, stayed positive. The team is sticking together. I mean, we love each other. I mean, we're still mourning, but we still realize we have to play football, and we still got some pretty good football players.
All right, take off.
All right.
See you in the next half. Okay.
All right, Susie, that's the end of the second quarter. 21-7 here. Now let's go to Dan Patrick for SportsCenter in-game, the Zima halftime show.
Thank you, Mike. We will recap the highlights of the Vikings and Saints, the first half action, which you're watching from the Alamo Dome. Also, the rest of the night in the NFL, Michael Vick on display in the New York metropolitan area, making his second preseason appearance. We'll have the Falcons and the Jets coming up as well. But we begin with baseball, a home run chase and a pennant race all wrapped into one matchup. It was the Cubs and Giants, which meant Dusty Baker had his man in the lineup, Barry Bonds. It's gone. Top of the second, 2 on for Bonds. That's number 50 on the year. And according to our research, at age 37, the oldest player in history to hit 50 home runs, Giants up 6-0. Bonds' hot bat, but not as hot as Livan Hernandez. With a man aboard, top of the third, and it's gone. He went 4 for 4 on the day, and the Giants pick up the victory by the final of 9-4. Luis Gonzalez looking on, 2 outs in the 6th. Tony Womack grounds to first. Ken Caminetti fields it, tosses it to Jason Marquis, who attempts to touch first, but Womack is called safe. Finley and Miller score 3-1 D-backs. As you look at it again, tries to get his foot there. The ump says no. Gonzalez trying to keep pace with Bonds. To left, Davey Martinez with the grab. 2 hits, no homers for Gonzo. Diamondbacks with a win, 3-1. Bonds now well ahead of the pace set by McGuire in 98. Bonds will square off against Kevin Tapani on Sunday. Bonds 12 for 20 lifetime against Tapani with 5 homers. Gonzo matches up against the stingy Greg Maddux. Gonzo 6 career homers in 76 at-bats against Maddux. As for McGuire, he was in action. Top 5 against Glendon Rush. 1 on, 1 out. Make that this one's out. 20th on the season. Cards go up 6-2. They win at 6-3. McGuire, career home run number 574. So Mac passes Harmon Killebrew and is now all by himself in 5th place on the career home run list. McGuire's last 10 hits have all been home runs. Next up for Mac is Frank Robinson, who stands at 586. Other action, the Diamondbacks regained first place in the West by a half game. L.A. has dropped 3 in a row. Phillies move into a first-place tie with the Braves with that 7-3 victory. In the AL Central, the Devil Rays spoiling the Twins Saturday afternoon, 4-3. The final. Twins fall a half game behind the Tribe in the Central. Jared Sandberg, the nephew of the former Cubs great Ryan Sandberg, hit his first Major League home run. Indians and the Rangers. Indians leading it 4-0. Robbie Alomar, a solo home run. That in the first. Charles Nagy winless in his last 3 starts. And the Red Sox woes continue. They had their good luck charm. David Cone in there. His first loss since May 23rd, a stretch of 13 consecutive starts. Red Sox fall 4.5 games behind the Yankees in the AL East. And Cal Ripken had 3 hits on the evening. Coming up following the game, Michael Vick. His second preseason appearance. We'll have all the highlights. We'll have post-game reaction from Bonds as he turns 50 at Wrigley. And then it'll be a special tribute to the Indians, Jim Tomei. We'll be back with the night in the NFL right after this.
This halftime show is presented by Zima. Clearly refreshing.
Well, he didn't start, but he hoped to finish. Michael Vick in action tonight against the New York Jets. Getting to know John Abraham. We'll have the highlights next.
Welcome back to Sports Center in-game, the Zima halftime show.
That's the game you're watching here on ESPN. The Vikings leading the New Orleans Saints. This game being played in San Antonio, which is the hometown of Red McCombs, the owner of the Minnesota Vikings. 21-7. We'll bring you a highlight or two from that game coming up in a moment. But we begin with the continuing education of Michael Vick, the #1 player selected in this upcoming draft. On display, his second preseason game. It was the Falcons who played at home against the Steelers in the opener. On the road against the New York Jets. Michael Vick. John Abraham with the sack. Vick would recover his own fumble. And New York Jets coach Herman Edwards loves what he sees. Second quarter, no score. 2nd and 5 for Atlanta. Doug Johnson looking for Eugene Baker. 21-yard touchdown reception for Baker. 7-0 Atlanta. Vick 2 for 3 for 22 yards. Colts and the Seahawks 14-11 right now. They've gone to the half. And Sean Springs suffered a leg injury, probably a hamstring injury in this game. He is not going to return. Keep an eye on this one. We'll have full coverage of that if it's a serious injury coming up on SportsCenter following the game. Bears and Tennessee Titans. First quarter, no score. Ball at the Bears' 10-yard line. Titans 3rd and 2. It's Steve McNair looking for the all-purpose Derek Mason, one of the more underrated players in the game. Titans go up 7-0, and that has to please head coach Jeff Fisher. The obligatory cutaway of the coach. Later in the first quarter, 3rd down for the Bears. Shane Matthews looking for the 3rd-round pick out of Northeast Louisiana. Marty Booker, 3rd-round pick in 1999. He's gone, tying this one at 7. Browns and the Packers 7-3 as they've started the 3rd quarter in this one. Highlights coming up a little bit later on. And the Broncos and the Cowboys. Last time the Cowboys won a preseason game, a couple years ago. Who they beat? Broncos. Emmitt Smith not playing in this game. Terrell Davis not playing in this game. It's 6-0 at the end of one period. Coming up on Monday, how about this for a matchup? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are they for real with Brad Johnson at the helm? You heard Mike Patrick say they punched their ticket to the Super Bowl when they signed Brad Johnson. It's the Buccaneers and the Dolphins coming up Monday night at 8 Eastern. Dante Culpepper. He can do it through the air. He hooked up with Randy Moss earlier. Takes this one in. Mike and Joe and Paul, the rest of the action coming up.
Welcome back to the Zima halftime report. The score here in San Antonio, Minnesota, 21-7. The big play, Randy Moss, 60 yards from Dante Culpepper to get the Vikings on the board first. Back with the second half after this. Back at the Alamo Dome for our preseason special. The Vikings are leading the Saints 21-7. And welcome back, everybody. For the Minnesota Vikings, this had to be a wonderful half of football with all they've gone through in the preseason. What an emotional lift this has to be for these guys.
Well, I think the fact that, that they had not practiced, Joe, and they had not hit anybody at all, and they only had really two contact practices. I think that they have fresh legs and they look good. They answered a lot of questions on offense.
Well, one of my biggest concerns was were they going to be able to get through this thing healthy. So far they have. In the first half, you take a look. Randy Moss just shows the great speed that he has. And we listened to Susie reference the fact that that's something he's worked on. And this to me was just Dante Culpepper trying to drive a point home that he's ready to play. And then you see Michael Bennett go up into the air, does a nice job of protecting the ball as he went up. Dante Culpepper's finished for the night. He's got to be happy with the way that he feels. I really think the most important thing coming through the preseason for any of your stars is, can we get this through this being healthy? No hamstrings, no real bruises, no real aches and pains that hamper us to be able to, in our preparation, especially this team that is going to need to hit more.
And we asked Denny Green, what are you preparing for in this preseason game? He said, we're taking step by step to get ready for Carolina in the opener. That's what they're looking at.
And one of the reasons Dennis Green has survived the 10 years in Minnesota is because he is one of the best that I have ever seen in getting his team to focus. And he has been able to get them through multiple distractions the way any coach has to. He's done a brilliant job of it, and this will be the ultimate distraction this year with the tragic death of Corey Stringer.
The drafting of Randy Moss was a big question for him, and he's handled that.
Vikings will get the ball first to start the second half, and Nate Jacquette will bring it back. We'll check in with Susie Colbert.
And, Mike, I just spoke with Jim Haslett. Obviously, he's most disappointed with the defense. They gave up 3 big plays. He feels like just 2 players were beating them, Culpepper and Moss. It's not as if they have a game plan in a specific defense that Moss beat them on. He simply outran Fred Weary. But he says you can't let a quarterback run all over you like that. Mike?
All right, Susie, thanks very much. But that's what people have seen with Culpepper and Moss in this league.
Yeah, he's not the only one that's got to feel that way.
Bauman starts the second half at quarterback, and this is Bennett picking his way through, then turns on the Jets across the 40 and just tripped up. Saving tackle by Newsome. If he doesn't get him around the ankles, he's gone.
I mean, he is gone. He is gone. Michael Bennett makes a couple of nice steps. Watch this. Look at this footwork on this young man. His head is up. Now, right here, if Newsome doesn't get him around the ankles, that's it.
You normally don't see moves like that out of a guy with a blinding speed that he has. 4 carries, 30 yards for the rookie in his first action. Bauman changing the play. They go to the eye. Bauman throwing deep. This one is incomplete contact. Walsh was back there. Bumped a little bit by Carter, the rookie defensive back, but no flag.
And Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, has decided that he wants to start this offensive line again. That is the question on this football team. He's trying to get them as much work as he can, and I think they've done a very good job. Mike Tice, of course, going through a very emotional situation. He said Corey was like a son to me. An offensive lineman is the only group on a football team that doesn't get individual credit. Everybody else gets sacks, interceptions, touchdowns. They become a very close family.
Bauman underneath and right through the hands of Flying Saucer.
Chris Lewinsky is replacing Corey Stringer in the first half. And just watch what he does. This is what they're looking for. He is number 76. He gets great technique. Look at his feet. Look at his hands. I'm telling you, he's doing an outstanding job. Now, this, again, is a preseason game, but he is going up against their first defense, and he did a great job.
Lewinsky was in the line rotation a year ago. This is his first shot as a starter. Jacquette, number 83, is in as a wide receiver. Blitz coming. Bauman throws underneath and incomplete.
One thing you have to understand about the New Orleans Saints, they're not the type of a defensive team that's just going to sit pat and let you go pick them apart. What we're seeing in the preseason is very vanilla. Once this season starts, Ron Zook, the defensive coordinator, and Jim Haslett, who really was an all-pro linebacker and understands the concept of aggressive defense, they'll start bringing people from everywhere.
Berger to punt to Lewis. Low kick. Lewis can't get there. Now have to chase it. Picks it up back at the 5. Breaks a couple of tackles and got it back to the 13-yard line. Return of 8. The kick, 53 with the roll from Mitch Berger. Mike Tice, who was upgraded to assistant head coach as well this year, talking to the troops. Third quarter, and the Vikings are on top of the Saints here in San Antonio, 21-7. Jeff Blake, who had a frustrating second quarter of action, has given way to Jake Delhomme out of Louisiana Lafayette, a guy they're very high on. And feel he could start for a lot of teams in the National Football League and eventually will be a starter. And a couple of new backs in there. Chad Morton getting an opportunity to run the tailback. Derek Harris, the fullback.
There is DeLong. Doesn't have a huge arm, but in this offense, he certainly has plenty.
I'll always go back to a guy who I think is the best quarterback that ever played in the history of football and did not have a huge arm. By the name of Joe Montana. Joe could throw the ball as well as he needed to and was extremely accurate to put it where he wanted to. Jake's like that.
Morton again slashing through the line, this time up to the 20, and Craig Sauer in on the tackle. Brooks and Blake in a battle for the starting job. Here are the numbers, and as Joe pointed out, it's really an unfair comparison because Brooks played with the starting unit and Blake with the backups. But you have to be impressed with Brooks going 10 for 10, 129 yards and a touchdown.
That's the thing, is he looked very efficient when he got his chance. Now, when Jeff gets his chance to play with the first unit, what's he going to look like?
Williams and Collins are in wide receivers, a couple of rookie free agents. DeLong goes to Morton out in the flat, and Thibodeau chases him out of bounds at the 21.
Just to give you an idea of what that 10 for 10 looked like and how some of the big plays were sprinkled in. Aaron Brooks sets in the pocket, fires the ball over to Jackson in the middle. Again, sets, looks left. This is a nice throw. Now we get the touchdown to Willie Jackson. Puts a lot of zip on this one, steps into the ball. I think the one thing he's worked on and improved in the offseason has been his ability to step into the ball and let it fly.
Jaquette is back to take the punt from LaFleur. Markers are down. Jaquette got a great block. McAfee takes him out of bounds, but a good return. Dan Morgan threw a heck of a block for him. The return is 27 yards. Ineligible man downfield.
This will be refused. Our first call of the year.
Huh. That doesn't count.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Number 52, penalty is declined. First down.
You can't count that one as your first call of the year. Yes, I can.
Oh, give him a break. He finally got one right. Vikings lead it by 14, and they have the ball at the Saints' 42-yard line to start this drive. Todd Bauman in a quarterback. He has Doug Chapman behind him. 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. Chapman tries to cut it outside. Go down to the sideline, Susie Colbert.
With Vikings owner Red McCombs back on his home turf. How touched were you? You run this organization like a family. How the community really supported this group after Corey Stringer's passing.
Well, we really didn't know what would happen. Team has only had 2 practices in pads. We really didn't know what would happen in this game. Obviously, we're delighted because up to this point, we've been able to play about 60 of our 80 guys. They've all really come with an attitude to hit, play hard football, and we're liking what we see.
Randy Moss has certainly risen to team leader. We made him the highest paid player in the NFL, 8 years, $75 million. Were you afraid?
Do you think he's really worth it?
Were you afraid of Randy coming into camp and this season unhappy?
No, not at all. That was just a judgment. We knew that we had Randy under contract for the rest of the year. We knew that he was going to remain a Viking. So it was a judgment as to whether to make the move then or to make it later. I made the move then because we could tie him up for 8 years. So time will tell. I think it was a good call.
And it's a lot of money for a team that reportedly is having some troubles. Not a lot of revenue from the Metrodome. What's the latest on staying there, on picking up and moving?
Well, we have to have a new facility, but I think the team belongs in Minnesota. It should stay in Minnesota. But having said that, we have to have a new facility. So that's yet to be done.
Best of luck for enjoying your hometown.
Thank you so much.
Back up to you, Mike.
You know, Susie, I think just about anybody in any sport would be lucky to have an owner like Red McCombs. I mean, the guy really does, it seems, everything the way it ought to be done.
I think also, you know, Tom Benson is another owner, the owner of the Saints, who is in the car business down here in San Antonio.
In here.
These two have competed against each other in so many ways. We saw it in the playoffs last year. Now we open up our preseason here. And, you know, Tom's done a terrific job of putting together the right kind of people. Randy Mueller and Jim Haslett, two guys that lead the Saints teams on the field, have tremendous support from their ownership as well.
And they also have stadium issues, of course. Kleinsasser bowls his way down near the 25-yard line. Denny Green says by the end of the year, Jim Kleinsasser will be considered the best fullback in the National Football League. Now, that's a big goal.
And I think there's going to be a problem defining fullback, because when you have a young Michael Bennett as a running back, you concern yourself with his blocking ability. Well, you solve that problem by putting in a Jim Kleinsasser, and Doug Chapman has the ability to do it, although he didn't play much last year. He's going to be their best blocker, so you probably see him as a single back.
Bauman over the middle, a short game, then the ball comes loose. Let's check in with Mark Malone. Mark.
Thanks, Mike. He hasn't played since 1997, but this former Super Bowl MVP, formerly with the Washington Redskins, Mark Rippon, has a good comeback. An 8-yard touchdown strike to free agent Trevor Inslee. That made it 14-10. They trail right now 14-11. Speaking of Redskin quarterbacks, Gus Frerotte, now of the Broncos, finds Patrick Haight to make it 13-zip, and that's where it stands against the Cowboys.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. And what a wonderful story that Mark Rippon is back in the National Football League, our old buddy from Washington. With what he went through with his family, with everybody fighting cancer and the loss he sustained, you got to be very happy for him. And he got the support. His family said, you go back and you get back in the NFL.
I had a chance to play with him in our celebrity tournament out at Lake Tahoe, and we had a chance to talk a long time. He worked very hard on getting back in shape. He always knew he could throw the football. He ballooned up to almost 270. He's got his weight back down, and he really is excited about the opportunity to play. And I think it's a great place for him to be. Tom Moore is a wonderful coordinator. Playing behind Peyton Manning as an insurance policy is great for the Colts.
Bauman going deep. This one's incomplete, intended for Walsh, and Carter was there. Carter has shown pretty well, the rookie out of Tulane, as a defensive back.
What do you think about Rip coming back, Paulo?
Well, you know, I just like the position he's in, and I like the team he went back to. You got Peyton Manning that you know, that he is going to be there for a long, long time. And to have Rip's experience, just have someone saying, hey, you know, you might be able to do this, maybe from a quarterback standpoint, from an experienced quarterback standpoint, that's super.
Gary Anderson will come on to try a 44-yard field goal. NFL's leader in field goals all time, points all time, and this one will be whistled dead.
The defense is saying the center moved the ball, and the offense saying they moved.
Prior to the ball being snapped, encroachment, 90, defense, 5 yards, still fourth down.
Kenny Smith, the third-round draft choice out of Alabama, who got the quick start.
How do you spell 90? Huh? 90.
Lots of
I
vowels.
thought there was a C in 90.
You know, Gary Anderson is in the perfect situation. He doesn't have the distance he used to, but he doesn't have to worry about that because they've got Berger to kick off. He doesn't have to worry about the other dudes. Just kick anything inside 50, and he'll go on forever.
Whoops. You just jinxed him.
Well, he's got to make them. That's all right. He won't miss during the regular season. 22 out of 23 last year. Back in a moment. Sing it, fellas.
Give me a Chileriano.
Well, it reminds me, the bucket of margaritas you ordered hadn't come up yet.
We had to call the Old Town Mexican Cafe.
Jake Delhomme will start from the 30. Here comes pressure. And they got Delhomme back at the 20-yard line. Sean Worthen with his second sack. The rookie out of TCU, and that's the 6th time they have gotten to a Saints quarterback overall tonight.
Well, they sent 6 guys, Joe.
Emmett Thomas, the defensive coordinator, wants his defense to be a lot more aggressive. When you talk to the guys as a whole, they've said that this defense is simpler but they'll be more aggressive. And I think part of that has to do with Willie Shaw dealing with the secondary, getting the guys in the right place. Two great safeties, Orlando Thomas and Robert Griffin, for run support.
Well, last year they were passive to a fault, especially in the secondary. So many passes completed underneath them. DeLome running for his life. They got him again. And this time it's Jim Nelson, the third-year man out of Penn State, who gets the tackle.
I'm going to tell you, since the first unit for the New Orleans Saints left the ball game, the quarterbacks
have been running for their life.
I was just going to go on third down. They have not had anything less than 3rd and 15.
Well, this is a little bit more right here.
And there aren't many plays for that.
Well, you know, they'll really ratchet it up on 3rd and 18. DeLome, a little play action. Better protection this time. And it throws the pick. Right into the arms of Nelson. Back-to-back big plays from Jim Nelson, and now there's a flag down. Back near the area where DeLome may have been hit late.
He's standing back there, and he's staying on the field, so that means it's against
personal foul, roughing the passer.
Well, let me tell you one thing. First of all, 3rd and 17.
Personal foul. Rubbing the passer, 79. Defense, 15 yards. Automatic. First down.
Winfield Garnett.
I was going to say, you run a play-action pass on 3rd and 17. That doesn't hold anybody. And it sure didn't hold any of the linebackers.
Well, Garnett got there about 3 steps too late.
What he has to understand is if you touch a quarterback that late, you're going to get it. The Minnesota Vikings committed a penalty, recovered a fumble for a touchdown. Now they get a big interception defensively. They commit a penalty, allow the Saints to get a first down.
McAllister, number 26 in it, running back. Play action by DeLome. Anime Ocho with a catch across midfield. This kid is an incredible story. He played intramural flag football until he was a junior at California Davis. He was making plans to go to medical school to follow in his father's footsteps. And then what the heck? He enjoyed intramural so much. Let's try out for the varsity. He liked it so much he stayed around another year and played. They think he's got tremendous potential.
51 catches, 13 touchdowns. That's a pretty big production. He's got great size, 6'4", 205.
But you want to talk about raw. Susie, this kid is nothing but a raw talent.
Well, he's a raw talent, and Jim Haslett knows that he needs a lot more time on the field because he says he does look like someone who's only played a couple of years of ball. But you talked about his dad being a doctor. Well, he helped his wife deliver their baby when he was in college. That night, he went back and played. Pretty special guy.
He grew up idolizing Jerry Rice in the Bay Area, Susie, and then got to work out with his idol before the draft this year. DeLome being chased by the Viking forward wall and throws it away. Let's go to Mark Malone. Mark, what do you have?
Mike's Seattle Seahawks and the Indy Colts. Trent Dilfer, last year's Super Bowl champion, just signed with the Seahawks, rolls out right, 2-yard touchdown strike by Tula Mealy. And the Seahawks up now 21-11.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Glad to see that Trent got a job. I mean, you come off winning the Super Bowl.
What do you have to do? I mean, you say to yourself, what do you have to do to keep a job?
Exactly.
Evidently, Brian Billick, the coach of the world champion Ravens, felt like Elvis Grbac would give him something more in the offense.
DeLome, the pocket collapsing around, and that one tipped in the air and nearly intercepted. Of course, the Ravens now have that problem at running back. I mean, a crushing blow to them in training camp, losing Lewis.
Yeah, but they didn't need any offense last year.
No.
Come on. They played 5 games of Ravens last year, didn't score a touchdown and won 3 of them.
LaFleur is on to punt to Jacquette. This thing is sky high. Flags are down. Jacquette signals fair catch and makes it at the 18. Now we'll check the markers. Kick of only 26, but he did his job.
Flags on the field.
And this one will go against Minnesota.
Is that too many guys on the field?
And that's what happens in preseason. People are not sure of the... Well, people are not sure of the substitution rotation.
Well, you know what happens? Guys are wearing the same numbers. You got 75 white, 75 purple, 75 this color, and all of a sudden you get guys that get used to numbers running around.
Legal substitution on the receiving team. 12 men on the field. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
Yeah, and what happens if you get 2 75s and the coach screams, hey, 75, get in there?
Yeah. I mean, you wind up with these rosters, the amount that they are. And also in preseason, the guys that played in NFL Europe don't count against the 80-man roster. So if you had 11 guys, let's say, or 10 guys, now all of a sudden your roster is 90.
That's a fact you didn't have to remind me of. Something. The charts that we use to spot these players, it looks like we've spilled ink on them rather than written on them.
Well, New Orleans Saints, 4th and 1, they're going to go. That's a little more than 1.
At least 1.5 yards. McAllister with the deep back along with Harris.
This is the kind of stuff a coach likes to put on film. How many short yardage situations can you look at?
Good play fake by DeLone. Rips it down the middle. That'll be a 1st down. Ojo makes the catch outside the 25.
Well, I'll tell you, that was an excellent move by a raw talent. Ojo found the open spot. Now, the play action just froze a whole lot of people, but Ojo did find the open spot. This is kind of a nice move for him. Look at this pass, and look at how wide open he is. He's right in the middle of the defense.
Gets up. You're right, Paul. And he sees the defender. Watch this. He gets his hands away from his body. He's a hand catcher.
DeLone, play action again. Dumps it underneath McAllister. Taken down to 20. McAllister, of course, wore 22 in college to go along with his nickname, the Deuce. He wanted 22 when he came here, but a veteran had it. And Thomas said it is not for sale. Fred says, that's my number. You're going to have to wait.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is Fred better than Deuce?
No, he just has seniority.
Been there longer.
2nd down, Saints. 2nd and 6.
McAllister picking his way inside the 15.
Well, Deuce McAllister, although now running the football, was used in their kicking game. This is the opening kickoff. He puts that on the ground, slips away from him. Now he's trying to field a punt. It bounces around, looks up. He winds up kicking it back in the end zone. Lost this one, but there was a penalty on the Vikings. And then there was another one after that. So from a return standpoint, he hasn't really handled the ball well. Although from the running back position, he's been a lot better taking care of it.
McAllister on the toss. And gets down to the 11.
One thing he will not be nicknamed, his hands.
Well, they might be calling him that, you know, the way teammates get after each other. But he's a big-time talent.
He's going to be a great player. He's had a terrible night, and that's one of the things when you hold out. When you hold out and you come in late, you better perform a little bit better than he did.
I wouldn't throw the term around great quite yet, to be honest. I think he'll be a good football player. He has a chance to be a good football player, but he's got a pretty good one that he's going to share time with, too, in Ricky Williams.
Okay, he's going to be a pretty good football player.
DeLone, good protection, throws into the end zone, batted down by Craig Sauer. He had a shot at his 2nd interception. I think he was surprised that ball got on top of him so fast.
Well, he made a great turn, Michael. He played the ball perfectly.
Deuce McAllister came into camp late. If you miss time in this system, you have to deal with terms like this. I'll give you a play, for example. This is one of the plays that Jake DeLone was calling in the huddle. Zebra zip rider left, twins 31 dive, solid naked right, Z open. Okay?
That's a bootleg.
Not quite. Okay, but close. But that's the type of terminology that a young rookie has to deal with.
DeLome dumps it off. McAllister, touchdown.
That's what they want to see. That's what they got him for. Look at these guys rally around him. That's terrific.
Fourth catch tonight, 43 yards, and that touchdown.
The only thing I got out of the whole thing was what, see something?
Yeah, that's about the way it is sometimes in a huddle. Jake Delhomme, nice pocket presence, hung in there as long as he could, and then found the only guy that was open.
Well, look at this run after the catch, and this is one of the things you look at. McAllister gets the ball, and he wants the end zone. That's a 5-yard line. Look at it. Bang.
McAllister, who showed excellent receiving skills at Ole Miss. John Hilbert is on to try the point after, as the Saints having some trouble getting enough people out there for the point after. Hilbert out of Louisville, a free agent this year, fighting John Carney for a kicking job. He knocks that one through. And the Saints have pulled within 7 as Deuce McAllister pays off the nice drive with a touchdown. Welcome back to San Antonio, Texas. 2:50 to go, third quarter. New Orleans kicking off. They've cut the lead to a touchdown. Nate Jacquet with the return. He stopped at the 20. Michael Lewis down on special teams with the tackle for the Saints. We've got a timeout. It's a 7-point ball game. This ESPN NFL preseason special is brought to you by Pemmican Beef Jerky. Pack Pemmican Beef Jerky and you'll survive the day. By Miller Lite. Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time. By Lamisil AT, the best way to cure athlete's foot. By Pontiac, in your local Pontiac dealers. And by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. Gatorade, is it in you? The beautiful Riverwalk in San Antonio. All sorts of shops, places to eat and relax. It's just a gorgeous sight down here. Bennett is the single set back behind Todd Bauman. Short set, can't get rid of it. And the third big play tonight for number 75, Bobby Setzer.
Bobby Setzer is having a terrific football game. I mean, he just goes up in the air. Watch Bobby Setzer, number 75. Watch this, up in the air. There's no place to throw the ball. Bauman has no chance to throw the ball, and then gets a sack.
The guy he beat was Brian Crawford, the 7th-round draft choice out of Western Oregon, who tried to cut him. Bauman throws to Walsh. You know, going back to that last play, I've always had the feeling if it's a 3-step drop and you get a sack, it's the quarterback's fault, not the lineman.
Not if you get a lineman that shows that type of athletic ability. You've got to give him a chance to have a lane to throw through. If you throw to the ground and the defender doesn't go down, these guys are so athletic, they're going to hurdle and go, and that's the result of sack.
First down, Vikings. Draw to Bennett. He gets it up to the 35. Let's go down to the field. Susan Colbert.
And Mike, for anyone who's missed the first 3 quarters of this game, let's revisit Randy's night. A moment of silence before the game. Some pent-up emotion. He was ready to go. First possession, Culpepper to Moss, 60 yards. Remember the divisional game last year? Exact same thing happened. And then there was the almost, a couple of drop balls. Nobody's a tougher critic on himself, so give me 50. The last time these two teams met for real, he only had 2 catches. They were both touchdowns.
Susie, I think he should have done 75. That's the number on his contract. Bennett.
showing you some of that speed down to the 31-yard line. Gerald Vaughn made the tackle, but it's a gain of 33 for the rookie Michael Bennett.
When you think about the Minnesota Vikings on offense, obviously Chris Carter, Randy Moss come to mind, Dante Culpepper running the ball. But it's this type of breakaway speed that Robert Smith had. The ability to find a hole and give you 50, 60 yards in almost every game. They could count on a touchdown. That's the thing that Michael Bennett will be able to do in replacing Robert Smith.
Morrow stood up by Douglas in the backfield. Never got out of his tracks. A couple of big plays tonight for Douglas. The Vikings have seen some very good things, I think, tonight. Bennett's play, pretty good play from the offensive line. Certainly Culpepper and Moss.
Staying healthy?
Absolutely. That's the end of the third quarter here in San Antonio. It's 21-14. Back with the start of the fourth quarter in just a moment. One quarter to go here at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio.
Oh, listen to that music.
You got a hoe down?
Huh? Who down?
I can only hoe down on the right foot.
Spotted on the Saints 31-yard line. Second down, Vikings.
Vikings have reached the Saints 31. Bauman with time and just off the fingertips of Walsh. Coming up after the game, Sports Center with Dan Patrick and Stuart Scott. They'll bring you all the highlights in the news. What's Vic's formula for winning? Will Bonds turn 50? Maybe. Uncle Jim, my hero. You'll have to stay tuned for that one. And coping without Big K.
3rd and 10 in front of the 31.
Uncle Jim.
Stay tuned.
Aaron Brooks had a very productive first quarter, 10 for 10. Played with the first unit. Got the Saints on the board.
Blitz against Bauman. He throws underneath. Got the completion of Walters down to the 16-yard line.
Oh, did he take a shot from Tim Carter? Wow. I'm going to tell you, Tim Carter was a half a step from killing him. Look at this. Watch. Throw, bang.
First down, Vikings.
There's a nice job. Look at the move here.
Ball spotted on the 16.
Walters just, he's going to help them a lot. Not maybe in the wide receiver position, but as a kick returner, he can give them a lot of quicks.
He was a Bolendikoff winner at Stanford, the best receiver in the country. Bauman goes with the draw play. Let's go to Mark Malone. Mark?
Mike, the Colts are making it a barn burner in Indianapolis. Mark Rippon comes up with his second touchdown of the night, a 4-yard pass to free agent Drew Haddad. That brings him within 3 points of the Seahawks. Then Haddad, check this out, on the kickoff return, weaving his way through the Seahawks coverage team. This ends up being 94 yards for the touchdown, and the Colts lead at 27-21.
Mark, thanks very much. 13:38 to go here. Draw play to Morrow. Morrow down to the 5. Joe, you just saw Mark Rippon in a Colts uniform. It just looks weird, doesn't it?
It's good to see him back in a uniform, but there are other people that are going to be in other places. Brad Johnson goes to Tampa. Trent Green in the deal takes him to Kansas City. Matt Hasselbeck, who I think will shine in Seattle. Tony Banks in Dallas. Elvis Gerback's going to be called upon to add some more offense. And Doug Flutie will make the San Diego Chargers into not only a contending football team, I believe, but a fun one to watch. Now they've got Drew Brees signed to come in there.
Bennett, touchdown. His second rushing score of the game. He just saw that corner and accelerated. It was over.
That's speed. That's just pure speed.
Big Ten track champion. And he's just not a track guy. He's a football player.
But when you look at him, just take a look to the outside. I mean, really, there's no one really has a chance at him. He never got touched.
9 carries, 79 yards, and 2 scores.
And Andy Crossland is on to try to make it a 14-point lead again.
For the extra point.
He knocks it through, and it's 28-14. The Vikings and the Saints entertaining a crowd of almost 45,000 here in the Alamo Dome. Back after this. This ESPN NFL preseason special is brought to you by Zima, clearly refreshing. By Payday, can't get enough peanuts? Get a Payday. Sweet caramel and tons of salty peanuts. By Lee Dungarees, can't bust them. And by Pennzoil, protection under the toughest driving conditions. 28-14, the Vikings with the lead. They'll kick off. Lewis and Norris are deep to receive. Lewis from the 7. For some wicked hits. And then Lewis breaks one to the 50. 40. What a huge play for him. 56 yards. Eric Kelly made the tackle to save a touchdown.
Michael Lewis, watch him do a nice job of getting up inside the wedge, and then it's just speed and quickness. Good job of shifting the ball from his right hand to his left to keep it away from the pursuers. Good ball skills.
And he certainly may have gotten the opportunity anyway, but McAllister's inability to field kicks has given Lewis a chance to play.
Lewis has so much more quicks, and it's really, when it comes to returning kicks, it isn't just outright speed that's important, it's quickness. You have to be able to make people miss and then turn it on.
New Orleans will set up shop at the Minnesota 37. Joey Goodspeed in at fullback, and James Fenderson, number 48, is the new running back. DeLome with a slant. That's complete down to the 25.
Michael Bennett for the Minnesota Vikings is not looking at these guys in awe much anymore. Look at the runs of this guy. He gets that's a 1-yard touchdown, but it is a touchdown. But when you look at how quick he is and the strength in his legs, you could see where he was a sprinter. He has just got such outstanding speed. Watch when he goes to the outside. There isn't a soul that touches him. And I know it's down near the goal line, but that just shows smarts.
Good-looking prospect, and they have to find the answer to the vacated running back spot. DeLome with time and goes underneath for a short completion.
Eddie Boo.
Just to give you a little idea of the comparison between Deuce and Michael Bennett, this is just the rushing. McAllister -2 yards. You don't need to tell you what the average is if it's -2. Michael Bennett has been featured a little bit more. 8.8 yards a carry. He's got himself 2 touchdowns. I just like the way he's reacting. Deuce looks a little bit sluggish and slow. Michael has come out with a burst. That has to do with the fact that you've been in camp. You haven't been in camp.
Williams, Collins, and Ojo, the wide receivers. DeLome under pressure. Got it out into the flat, but it's incomplete to Fenderson. Fenderson, the free agent rookie out of Hawaii. And, of course, the Vikings fans, and there's a lot of them in attendance here, wanted a loose ball fumble recovery and a touchdown. They won't get it.
Well, they got a good cheer because the referee, Walt Coleman, fell down. Trying to spot the ball. Come on, Walter, keep your feet. Keep your feet.
DeLome on 3rd and 7. Pressure coming. DeLome to the outside, and he's got Collins at the 15-yard line. Anthony Collins has impressed the coaches in camp when a coach picks out a rookie free agent and said, hey, this guy's gotten our attention. He makes a play a day.
But he makes a mistake here. He has the first down at this point against Thibodeau, but then he winds up coming back and making it 4th down and short. Again, good opportunity for a coach in preseason. Let's look at how we perform in short yardage.
Goodspeed, the blocking back for Fenderson. Fenderson to the 13-yard line.
Now that was a good block by Goodspeed. I mean, to follow the fullback, Fenderson does exactly what he's supposed to do. Go where most people are on your side of the ball.
That's one thing Notre Dame fullbacks can do is block, because that's why they do a ton of it.
Yeah, they learned that when they're playing the service academy.
Don't start. You went to an academy.
Yeah, the Citadel, the only school in America with the Citadel.
First and 10 New Orleans.
And the Notre Dame.
Delhomme under pressure, wants the screen. Out of bounds inside the 10. Goodspeed made
That was the
catch.
screen.
Set up today for official fantasy football. It's free at NFL.com. You can get live drafts, real-time scoring, and other exclusive features, and it's only at NFL.com.
Surprising, the very first screen we've seen this entire night.
Not really, because I think coaches want to see some other things. Things are somewhat simplistic when it comes to design and running, and they're easy to execute. I think they want to look at some other types of plays. They want to see how the offensive linemen fire off the ball. They can pass block. Those are, I think, things that are priorities at this point.
Fenderson got a couple before he was pushed back.
Well, I talk about teams coming in, the coaching staffs, that, we really don't have a game plan, but we do have some plays and some things that we want to see people do.
And they'll do it at different points in the game. We saw New Orleans come out early and throw the football. Now they've gone to running it a little bit more.
3rd and 3. Delhomme throws underneath, and it's incomplete. Intended for Collins at the 5.
Well, if you went for it 4th and 1 and you were inside about the 20-yard line, you go for it inside
the 10.
Down by 14, certainly.
10.
Anyone want to go for 15?
6, 7.
Jim Haslett, what a turnaround. 13 and 3 the year before he got there. Then they go 10 and 6 and win the division. Or 3 and 13. 4th down and 3. Delhomme to the end zone, touchdown. Ojo makes the catch.
Joe, I honestly think the defensive guy knocked the ball back into his hand.
It doesn't matter. What great concentration. He's another one of these guys that you root for. We talked about Michael Bennett. Ojo has just been a kid that's committed himself. Look at the effort. Look at how hard he works to get in the end zone against Eric Kelly. Then he just goes up and gets the ball. And he got it. I got it. Look at me. I got a touchdown. Jake loved it too.
Anime Ojo from California Davis. He'll make all those guys he played intramural football against very proud. Gilbert for the point after, and again, we have a 7-point ball game. Anime Ojo just really learning the game.
NFL preseason week continues on ESPN. Monday night, the Dolphins head to Tampa for an in-state warm-up as Jay Fiedler looks to find holes against Warren Sapp and the Bucs' stifling defense. Dolphins, Bucs, 8 p.m. Monday.
Back in San Antonio, Texas at the Alamo Dome. Saints have cut the lead again to 7. And kicking off, Nate Jacquet slices his way up to the 22-yard line. We've got a timeout. It's a 7-point game with a little more than 8.5 minutes to go in the ball game. And we'll be back after this. Sports Center coming up when we're done here. Dan Patrick and Stuart Scott standing by. Just some of the stories they'll bring you updates on tonight. So stay tuned for that. We have 8 minutes and 35 seconds to go here. And San Antonio, the new quarterback, Billy Conklin. And the Vikes started off on the ground with James Wofford, a rookie from UNLV. Let's go to Susie Culver. Susie.
You might recognize this guy. One of the greats who played nose tackle for the Vikings, Jerry Ball. Yesterday, Coach Denny Green was lamenting the fact he doesn't have a big run stuffer in the middle like you. And then John Randall leaves as well. The good old days of that Vikings D gone.
Well, I tell you what, these young guys have really came out and showed and established that they have a good formidable defensive line. And I think they're going to be okay and be able to give a lot of teams in the conference a lot of problems up front.
You've retired. Do you miss it?
I don't really miss it. I don't miss taking those pounding days, but, you know, football is a part of me, and, you know, I definitely look at it with a lot of interest.
You were always one of the wise old guards of the NFL, thoughtful. Your impressions of the game today?
Well, I tell you what, you know, the game has changed somewhat. You know, it's a lot, to me, it's a little bit more geared toward offense, scoring a lot of points, but it's faster. The guys are bigger. You got guys like Dante Culpepper, you know, who's revolutionizing the position. Randy Moss stretching the field. So I tell you what, it's definitely a lot faster.
As always, great to see you.
It's always good to see you. Thanks.
Back upstairs.
All right, Susie. Jerry Ball was a heck of a player for a long time.
Jerry revolutionized the position, too. A lot of people have gone out now and got the big guys in the middle, like Tony Siragusa and Sam Adams, for example, with the Baltimore Ravens. One thing that has to improve, we know the Viking offense is good, but their defense, 24th in points allowed, 28th in yards allowed, sacks only 31, takeaways 18, and one telling tale that's up there, 8 interceptions. Just 8 interceptions for this football team.
The only team in NFL history that won their division with the least amount of interceptions, 8. That's hard to believe that they only got 8 interceptions the entire year.
And they will be better. I believe that.
No kidding.
Emmett Thomas will be able to allow his guys to get more pressure up front, which will make it easy for the running back.
Wofford breaks one across midfield, ruled out of bounds to the 46-yard line. A gain of 21 for the rookie free agent James Wofford. And Chris Carter now performing the role of cheerleader.
Well, he's out in the middle of the field. Chris Carter is beyond the sideline. Look at this.
You can do that when you have over 1,000 catches.
Well, it just shows the enthusiasm of this team and this guy. You know, all right, now I boogie a little. That's good.
This game must have been very therapeutic for this football team.
Oh. To come out and play well was therapeutic.
Yeah. Cochran throws wide for James. Back to Susie.
Well, we know how fit Chris Carter is. He has his off-season conditioning program that many of the players come and visit. Well, even before Corey Stringer passed away, Chris had already organized an internet site called athleteshealth.com, and it's a place that talks about general health, but also specifically for athletes, because he does believe that it is the athlete who is responsible for himself. You need to know your body, and more guys should be more in tune like he is.
Cochran's back to throw. He's under pressure. He'll be sacked. And Susie, to echo that point, the athlete being responsible for themselves, because in athletics, particularly in football, you don't want to let your teammates down, and you go out in the heat, and you know the heat index is over 100. You don't want to take a play off because your teammates are going to rag you. You don't want to let anybody down. Your personal pride is involved. Guys drive themselves beyond the point where they should.
And I think a lot of teams and organizations have done an excellent job of being aware of that. Not just after what happened to Big K, but coaches and training organizations have really, really tried to make their players aware of their health. Example, had a conversation with Kyle Turley today, the great offensive lineman, and I mean great, and Paul thinks he's just downright dirty and nasty, but I think he's just really good. Yes, you do. But I asked him, I said, what happened to Corey, how does it affect you as a player in the National Football League? He said, the one thing I'm going to be very conscious of is I'm going to be very careful and look deep into the supplements that I put into my body. What is going into my body, and what are the results, or what can happen if I take too much of it, if I take enough of it, am I taking the right combinations? So it's created an awareness for a lot of the athletes as well.
Michael Lewis waiting at the 10 for the punt on 4th and 13, 5:20 counting. Brian Morton with a high kick. They'll let it go, and it reaches the end zone. 48-yard punt, so they'll start from the 20-yard line with 5:11 to go in this preseason game. Chris Carter and company still on top by a touchdown. Back after this. We are in San Antonio, Texas, where the Vikings are leading the Saints 28-21. 5:11 to go. New Orleans ball at its own 20. But an entertaining ball game.
It has not been what we have seen in some cases as a typical preseason football game.
Absolutely not.
But I also think it speaks to the depth of personnel on both of these football teams as well. Free agency has sort of stripped a lot of teams of that second layer of players. These two teams have got some pretty good ones as backup.
Jake Delhomme to throw. Lewis got it.
No.
Then he lost it. It's incomplete. We're going to say Lewis never had control of the football.
Boy, he did not have control. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Delhomme, you said you don't know if he has strength in his arm? Yeah, he do. Yeah, he does. I'm going to tell you right. And when he throws this ball, Lewis, watch this. He never has control of the ball. Watch the ball. Look at the ball.
Good job by Eric Kelly, though.
Sure was.
As Lewis bobbled it the second time, Eric Kelly manages to reach in. He bobbles it once, bobbles it twice. Kelly doesn't give up on it. The third-round choice out of Kentucky did a good job.
Boy, you know his heart was in his throat, too.
Yes.
Oh, this guy's got me beat. Just bobble it one more time. I got you. Beautiful throw from Delhomme. Fenderson. Nice cut. Across the 30 to the 31, first down. In case you joined us late, the Vikings really racked up some offense tonight, beginning with Randy Moss. 60-yard touchdown first quarter from Dante Culpepper. Then Culpepper running the option and took it in himself, and then the rookie, Bennett, with a 1-yard dive and then a sprint to the corner where he outran the defense. And that's how the Vikings got their 28.
And you got to give that guy, Dennis Green, an awful lot of credit, man.
Blitz coming. Pass complete. Boo! Boo Williams, the tight end. A receiver in college down near the 20-yard line.
Jim Hassan told me 2 weeks ago, he said, when do you see this guy, Eddie Boo Williams? They said, he is something.
You just like to say Boo.
Oh, I love it. Eddie Boo.
He is tiny for a tight end, 6'4", 235.
Jake takes a hit, but he gets the ball out. That was Antonio Wilson that hit him. And here goes Boo.
He's got some speed. They're working on his blocking skills. Fenderson can't make the corner. Antonio Wilson made the tackle.
You know, I just said Dennis Green, you know, bringing this team, they had really not hit anybody. They had no contact whatsoever. And he himself said, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I don't know what these guys are going to do. Mentally, I don't know. I know how good they are when they start. And, you know, when you don't hit anybody, Joe, and then all of a sudden you win your first preseason game, it's hard to do.
But now all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of players around the league going to their coaches and saying, hey, look at what went on in Minnesota, coach. They didn't hit a lot. Do we need to hit this much? I think when you have a core of veterans that lead this football team like they do, you can do things like that.
Delhomme has to burn a timeout as the play clock was running down with 3:24 to go. 28-21. Let's check in with Mark Malone. Mark.
Mike, out of the Adelphia Coliseum, the Chicago Bears trying to mount a comeback late fourth quarter action. Danny Warfield at the helm finds the #1 draft pick David Terrell. That's an 11-yard strike. It's 27-17 with just under 4 minutes to play.
All right, Mark, we've had our own fireworks here.
And David Terrell's going to have to step up for the Bears with Marcus Robinson having his problems again physically. They're great big wide receivers.
The lead, 7 points, 3:24 to go. Bennett certainly shown well tonight. They wanted to see what kind of speed he could show for replacing Robert Smith, who gave him so much out of that tailback spot. Certainly what we saw off of tonight is he's got the speed to play.
Kyle Turley, one of the leaders of that Saints offensive line that played every snap.
Collins is the man in motion. Delhomme tipped. Collins, nice catch. Wonderful job of keeping his concentration.
Michael, a play like this by Anthony Collins really opens the eyes of the coaching staff. Now, here's a ball that's tipped in the air. He could have actually, quit on this ball, and he didn't. Watch the play that Anthony Collins makes. He comes back, makes sure that I catch the football, which he does there, tucks it away. Look at the balance, and then still pick up 4 yards.
3rd and 9. Delhomme out of the gun. Throws underneath, and that's going to be about 5 yards short of a first down to Boo Williams.
No,
and obviously they'll go for it.
I'm sorry, Mike, but you said he wasn't very big, 6'4", 235?
That's a tight end.
But that's not too bad.
I mean, you got to find this, go to safety to find somebody at 6'4", 235.
There are a number of them out there.
They've already converted 3 fourth downs tonight. Four-man rush on Delhomme. This one is incomplete, intended for Boo Williams. And it hit the back of Isaac Keys. Keys, the rookie linebacker out of Morehouse, in perfect position all over Boo Williams. So they'll turn it over on downs.
You try and get singled up in the middle. Delhomme does a nice job of hanging in the pocket. And Keys just totally shields Boo.
A little high-fiving on the sideline for Keys.
Yeah, they catch that. It's a tie game.
Stop.
No, I'm saying if he didn't catch it.
Number 5, Billy Cockerham.
Wofford is the single setback behind Cochran. And Wofford will get the carry up to about the 17-yard line. We have reached the 2-minute warning officially at 1:56. Whoa, hold the phone. There's a flag down.
Trayvon Waller, number 39, and Cedric James, number 13. Locking into a little.
Unnecessary roughness, 39. Defense, 15 yards, automatic, first down.
That penalty on Waller. So tack on another 15 to the run. And we've reached the 2-minute warning at 1:56 here at the Alamo Dome. Vikings leading with the ball. And we'll be back in a minute.
Coming up on Sports Center after the game, all the highlights you can handle, as well as a memorable day for Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire.
Also, Jim Tomei's touching story of heroics and family tragedy. Back to Mike Patrick. Mike?
All right, Dan, thanks very much. We will anxiously await your report. We have 1:56 to go here. And it's 28-21. Vikings working on the clock. First down after the penalty. Wofford. When after the penalty that Trayvon Waller was assessed for roughing, well, Jim Haslett, the Saints coach, just went ballistic.
Well, you know, and he also pulled him out of the game. Waller came right out of the game. Haslett took him out of the game. And that was Jim Haslett's decision. And when Waller got to the sidelines, there was no reason not understanding what Jim Haslett was telling you. And here it is. That's stupid. it. And I'm going to tell you what Waller's trying to do, Joe, is giving him an excuse. And just shut up and take. There ain't no buts in this, baby. Just take it and shut up.
And there was the second mistake. When Jim walked away, he had a chance to get out of the area, but he waited for him to come back.
And then when you get Sam Clancy, the defensive line coach, standing there saying something.
Sean Paga, number 45, is in as the blocking back. The one-time National Rugby Player of the Year. He's blocking for Wofford. So you know Paga is tough. You guys ever play rugby?
Just put the ball on the ground. He'll go get it.
Oh, nasty stuff.
I watched those. To me, that's a sick group of people.
Yeah, those are the players.
They are tough. They define tough.
They're like dock workers. I mean, they're
Australian rules football.
Yeah.
Do the same things we do. This is what happens when you're like, you know, on a winning football team.
Of course, in 48 hours, we will have the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for you from Tampa. I hope you'll join us at 8 o'clock Monday night.
Two extremely good defensive football teams.
I'm looking forward to it. I just hope we're both awake.
1:38 left in this game. Wofford, and he'll be pushed back, gang tackled, and dragged back. He had a chance to talk to Warren Sapp, and he realizes that in this league, opportunities to win titles should not be taken for granted.
Our window's closing every year because I'm getting a little older, somebody else is getting a little older, and you really don't have that many shots. And this is my 7th year in this league, and I got a 7-year itch I need to scratch. Bad.
I'm going to tell you one thing. You won't recognize him. You know what, Joe? He looks great. I mean, he is in great shape.
He lost 30 pounds.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Remarkable.
When I had a chance to do the interview, I watched both of Tampa's practices, the morning and afternoon practice. He looks like a linebacker running around out there.
Well, wait a minute. Don't get carried away.
No, he did. What did you see him?
I saw him.
Big rush on Morton. He got it out of there. Lewis comes up to take it at the 30. Looking for a block. Won't get it. Cut down at the 28. A loss of a yard on the return after a punt of 33. And Fearon Wright, good hustle down on special teams for the Vikings.
I mentioned earlier about the New Orleans Saints front four. Could well be one of the best, not the best in football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the addition of Simeon Rice now. If they get 3rd and long, they've got some people who can push it up the field as well.
Well, you take Warren Sapp, the 3 of us, you've got one of the top front fours. I'm afraid we'd let him down a few times.
So. I'll tell you, they've been waiting a long time in Tampa to get a quarterback.
Well, last year they thought the missing piece was Keyshawn. He played well. Now they feel the missing piece is Brad Johnson, and I agree with him. DeLone. Not much time and a lot of yards to get. Throws it down the middle. Bo Williams! The tight end who can get deep.
Tell me how big he is. You said he's not very big?
He's not. He's 6'4", 235. That's why they're throwing him long passes.
But he knows how to get open.
If he was your typical tight end, that would have been for 5 yards.
Jake's got to get up here and ground the ball and just get your team regrouped. You're going to have about 10 seconds, 9 seconds to go. Just get up under the center and snap it.
They want to try to run a play. Throws for the end zone, intended for Williams again. Double teamed, incomplete.
See, now, to me,
that was a mental mistake, wasn't it?
He wasted a good 8 to 10 seconds and probably an opportunity to run at least 2 more plays to get the ball in the end zone by staying in the shotgun and just trying to get everybody lined up. I know we're right at the end of this game, but these are critical teaching points for Jim Haslett to both Aaron Brooks and Jeff Blake as well.
You know what you're saying about coaches having the opportunity to run 2-minute drills? They both had the perfect opportunities in this game.
2 seconds to go.
Give me the ball!
DeLome is screaming for the ball. Then he gets it snapped into his chest. And the center, Jay Haygood, could never hear him.
Let me just say this. Again, something that the team will work on. A silent count. If you're a quarterback, if your center can't hear you, run up under the center and take it from him.
Look at Jake. Look at this. Watch. Now he's gonna move to work. Actually, he's in motion. He's walking forward, which he can't do.
Haygood has no idea what he's saying.
He just,
So they'll move him back. What he should do now is he should lift the foot. Don't try and go verbal. Just lift the foot. There you go. 1-2 snap. Incomplete for Williams.
The final score, 28-21 Vikings. SportsCenter is next. For our entire ESPN crew, this is Mike Patrick saying goodnight from San Antonio. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
ESPN, thank you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.